using time. On December 18th, the House of Representatives impeached the President of the United States, an impeachment that will last forever.
Bam!
Oh, forever. Like forever, ever.
It's on his permanent record.
Forever, ever. Yes, history. It will last forever. Let's keep going on the Speaker Pelosi sound. Voters should decide, not Putin. All roads lead to Putin, don't you know, Crudy? Cut 93.
This is about the Constitution of the United States. And it's important for the president to know, and Putin to know, the American voters in America should decide who our president is, not Vladimir Putin in Russia.
What a quaint thought. Speaker Pelosi, why they waited, and the witnesses, cut 94.
We wouldn't be in this situation had we not waited. Insist that there be witnesses and that we see documentation. And now you see some of that change happening on the Senate side. I hope it does for the good of our country and to honor our Constitution.
Let's keep going on the courtroom litigators, cut 95.
The emphasis is on litigators. The emphasis is on comfort level in the courtroom. The emphasis is making the strongest possible case to protect and defend our Constitution, to seek the truth for the American people.
Thank you for that, Speaker. Cut 96. Dismissal is cover-up.
I was very discouraged to see Mitch McConnell sign on to a resolution dismissing the case. That, to me, dismissal is cover-up.
And 97. Let's hear it again.
The president is not above the law. He will be held accountable. He has been held accountable. He has been impeached. He's been impeached forever. They can never erase that.
No matter how many times Trump tweets out, they will never erase that. Let's skip forward to cut 101.
It seems so unfair.
This is serious.
This is as serious as it gets for any of us. Only the vote to declare war would be something more serious than this. We take it very seriously. It's not personal, it's not political, it's not partisan, it's patriotic.
The devil's advocate's never personal.
Only politics.
And it's forever. We just want to be your forever friends, your BFFs.
Forever, 3 to 6?
Forever.
Not 3 to 8, 3 to 6.
3 to 6.
Okay, good.
You know, we will probably never do another 5-hour show from a convention site. Well, we'll do more 5-hour shows then. Once the DNC's in town, man, we will do a 5-hour show. Or election night, something will force you to work nearly half a workday. Come back with us, more Devil's Advocates. We're back in the saddle again, baby.
Never again. I say it. Never again.
Never, ever.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on Talk 1017 FM. Weekdays, you can hear Democracy Now! From 7 to 8 a.m. Then it's the Earl Ingram Show from 8 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Online at talk1017fm.com. Wisconsin's Political Talk, because politics matters.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Monday, February 3rd, the Devil's Advocates will be on the ground in Iowa, covering the first in the nation Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Live from Loras College in Dubuque, the Devil's Advocates return to the caucus site won by Bernie Sanders in 2016. Now his challengers include Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Andrew Yang. Special coverage begins at 7 on Talk 92.7 FM in Madison, Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee, Iowa Caucuses, Devil's Advocates.
Milwaukee is a great city with a great history and great architecture. You can take in Milwaukee's history and architecture while you partake in the delicious Wisconsin craft beer at Regano's Roman Coin on historic Brady Street. The Roman Coin was originally a Pabst Tight House built by Frederick Pabst in 1890 to sell Pabst beer. It was even designed by the same architect who designed the Pabst Theater. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's historic, pet-friendly, cash-only, order-in classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. You can join us, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the impeachment of Donald J. Trump will move forward. The trial immediately after the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Apparently next Tuesday it will begin. And we will broadcast it here on the Wisconsin Political Talk Network. But, Dom, there is troubling news. The National Association of Broadcasters shared this piece. The WBA, and we are members, they shared this with their members like us, and we want to share it with our audience because here is something very troubling. The impeachment trial's security crackdown will limit Capitol Press access. And for no really good reason, Dom, the Senate Sergeant at Arms and Capitol Police are launching an unprecedented crackdown on the Capitol Press Corps for the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump, following a standoff between the Capitol chiefs, security officials, Senate Rules Chairman Roy Blunt, and the Standing Committees of Correspondence. The Capitol Police Chief, Stephen A. Sund, and Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger will enact a plan that intends to protect senators and the chamber, but it also suggests that credentialed reporters and photographers whom senators interact with on a daily basis are considered a threat. Additional security screening and limited movement within the Capitol for reporters are two issues that are drawing criticism from Capitol Hill media. The Standing Committee of Correspondence, which represents journalists credentialed in the daily press galleries in the House and Senate, has come out forcefully against the planned restrictions that it says rejected every suggestion made by the correspondents. And here's a quote, Dom, without an explanation of how the restrictions contribute to safety rather than simply limit coverage of the trial. Standing gallery committees are panels made up of journalists elected by their colleagues. They help oversee press operations and work to ensure press access to public officials and proceedings on Capitol Hill. Another quote, Dom. These potential restrictions fail to acknowledge what currently works on Capitol Hill or the way the American public expects to be able to follow vital news events about their government in a digital age, the Standing Committee on Correspondence said in a letter Tuesday. When the articles of impeachment are delivered to the Senate, and that's a formal ceremony, it's going to happen here in about 40 minutes, a procession full of pomp and circumstance, and just one video camera, and no still photographers will be allowed to document the historic moment. No audio recordings at all will be permitted, leaving radio reporters empty-handed. And it's not like this is always the way it's been. It is a break with precedent. This restriction was not in place when the articles of impeachment against Bill Clinton were delivered to the Secretary of the Senate in 1998, a fact confirmed by CQ roll call, file photos, and coverage of the event. During the trial, a single press pin will be set up. A press pin, Dom, kind of like the Trump rally in Milwaukee last night.
Right.
A single press pin will be set up on the second floor of the Senate where lawmakers enter and exit the chamber. Reporters will be confined to the pen, unable to move with senators. No movement will be allowed outside the corrals, and reporters and photographers will need to be escorted to and from the pen. Got to use the bathroom? Mother, may I? Can I get a hall pass? I mean, that's how they're treating the media on Capitol Hill, Don.
Oh, come on. We know how Trump insults the media on a regular basis. He did so again in Milwaukee last night. This is par for the course for this administration. Of course, they want as little record as possible for this impeachment that will last forever.
Dominic, credentialed members of the media who go through security screenings to enter the Capitol each day will be screened a second time to enter the Senate chamber to watch the trial proceedings. Magnetometers will be set up in the Senate Daily Press Gallery, requiring reporters to enter the chamber one by one after being cleared by Capitol Police operating the machine. This has the potential to cause delays and shape coverage of the impeachment trial itself. If reporters cannot enter and exit the chamber swiftly when news breaks or something important happens, it will likely become more convenient to simply watch the trial on television or the internet, or listen on the radio.
Crudy, even on a typical day, electronic devices are banned from the Senate's chambers, upper galleries, where the press can watch proceedings. That results in a predictable pattern where phoneless reporters quietly hustle out of the chamber doors when a vote is gavel closed or a major speech concludes, rushing to their phones and laptops to tweet and send the news to their editors. The magnetometers will severely curb this breaking news practice, likely sending reporters to their laptops to watch the historic trial rather than taking it in firsthand. The Hill reporting on this very issue, Jordan Carney, Senator John Kennedy, a Republican from Louisiana, distanced himself on Wednesday from proposed restrictions on reporters covering the upcoming impeachment trial. Here's what he said. There is an effort to limit the press. I'm going to vote against that. If I'm allowed to vote, Kennedy told reporters. U.S. senators are grown women and grown men. If they don't want to make a comment, they know how to say no comment. Senator Amy Klobuchar, top Democrat on the Senate Rules Committee and, of course, a 2020 presidential candidate, said Tuesday night that she opposes the restrictions and has made her concerns known to the Rules Chairman, Roy Blunt. Quote, "No, I don't support it, and I have been in contact with both sides on this issue. I made it very clear. I talked to Senator Blunt about this. I think we should have open access for the press." Crudy, why change anything?
Well, because according to historians, the media was rambunctious during the Clinton trials. There are lots of press interest. There will be lots and lots of press interest. And a lot of these people don't cover the Hill traditionally. They don't know the standards of decorum, Dom. That's the excuse.
Yeah.
It's in the article. I didn't make that up. That's what Capitol Police made up.
This administration saying
this.
anything about standards of decorum is a total joke.
They say it's an imminent threat. Yeah. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. Phone lines open 844-967-2789.
Politics is boring. You're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com.
An impeachment that will last forever.
Forever, forever, ever, forever, ever.
You are the enemy of the people.
Monday, February 3rd, the Devil's Advocates will be on the ground in Iowa, covering the first-in-the-nation Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Live from Loras College in Dubuque, the Devil's Advocates return to the caucus site won by Bernie Sanders in 2016. Now his challengers include Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Andrew Yang. Special coverage begins at 7 on Talk 92.7 FM in Madison, Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee. Iowa Caucus's Devil's Advocates.
This new year, make the resolution to be healthier, happier, and more productive. At Madison Liquidators, we have a full line of options that will help you get up and standing at your desk. From simple desktop converters to full-size, height-adjustable desks that raise and lower at the push of a button, we have options to meet any budget. Stop by our showroom in Middleton today to try before you buy or learn more by visiting MadisonLiquidators.com. That's MadisonLiquidators.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is WIS Politics Midday.
Good afternoon.
I'm Royce Bedezwa, and our report for Tuesday, January 14th, is brought to you by Spectrum. The 4th District Court of Appeals quickly stayed an Ozaukee County judge's order telling the Wisconsin Elections Commission to deactivate the registrations of some 209,000 voters who may have moved. But first, a state ethics commission filing shows Supreme Court candidate Jill Karofsky raised $227,552 over the final 6 months of 2019. The Dane County judge finished the year with $181,274 in the bank after spending $157,000 between July 1st and December 21st. For the year, she raised nearly $350,000 in her bid to take on conservative Justice Daniel Kelly. Campaign finance reports are due to the Ethics Commission Wednesday. Both Kelly and Marquette University Law School professor Ed Falone have yet to file their reports. As of his last filing in June, Kelly had $238,485 in the bank. Additionally, the liberal group Priorities USA announced today that it will begin a $5.8 million ad buy in Wisconsin TV starting February 25th, along with millions more in digital efforts opposing President Trump. The Wisconsin Outreach Directors said market breakdown in Wisconsin includes $3.4 million in Milwaukee, $1.8 million in Green Bay, and $640,000 in the La Crosse Eau Claire market. The overall effort will include $30 million in TV and $40 million in digital ads, which will appear in platforms such as YouTube, Hulu, and Pandora. Finally, after Supreme Court justices passed on taking the case last night, the 4th District issued 2 stays this morning. One put a hold on Judge Paul Malloy's directive deactivating the registrations, while the other stayed his contempt order that included fines for each day the commission failed to comply with his order. The court previously refrained from granting the Department of Justice's request for a stay, noting a petition to bypass had been filed with the state Supreme Court. In issuing today's stays, the appeals court noted the commission was meeting this morning. The 3-judge panel said it would lay out its reasoning in greater detail in a follow-up order. For WisPolitics Midday, sponsored by Spectrum, I'm Royce Podeswa.
This has been WisPolitics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit wispolitics.com.
Sell your Madison area home for top dollar with ease. Hi, I'm Amy Hopfinger with Homestead Realty, and I have a program that saves you time and money. Sell your home without the hassle. No signs, no open houses, no keeping your home showing ready, no leaving for showings. Quick, easy, convenient. Visit me at buyerformyhouse.com. That's buyerformyhouse.com.
Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy hump day to us all. Dominic, you mentioned, and I trust that you're probably right, Leb Parnas, a fine guest on the Rachel Maddow Show tonight. Now, we're going to have some fine guests on this big program. We've got Earl Ingram Jr., WRD's own. He's joining us in the 4 o'clock hour. Going to talk about Donald Trump in town last night. And Charles Franklin, fine, Marquette University Law School pollster. Charles Franklin joins us at 4:30. We've got a replay of about 5 minutes with our good friend Ben Wickler, who joined us last night in Des Moines, Iowa in the spin room. But Dom, this new blockbuster, this document dump from Leb Parnas. He's the buddy of Rudy Giuliani, right?
Yeah.
Had the one-way ticket to Vienna. He's the one. He and Igor Fruman, they got...
Wait, now weren't he and Fruman arrested after having lunch with Giuliani?
At the Trump Hotel.
Where they went and then got one-way tickets to Vienna.
Yes.
And then they got picked up at the airport.
Yes.
Yes.
Greg Sargent reports at the Washington Post the 4 big takeaways from the explosive Leb Parnas document. In a functional political environment, the explosive new documents from Leb Parnas just released by House investigators would rock the ongoing impeachment saga. They leave almost zero doubt that the scandal that got the president impeached will continue getting worse, substantially so for him and his defenders. Parnas has helped orchestrate Trump's lawyer Rudy Giuliani's negotiation with Ukrainian officials pursuant to Trump's wide-ranging plot to pressure Ukraine into doing his corrupt political bidding. One of the new documents reinforces this point. It's a handwritten note by Parnas telling himself to get Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to announce that the Biden case will be investigated. That shows Parnas working to carry out Giuliani's plot to pressure Zelensky to validate the Trump-Giuliani narrative of corruption, designed to smear Joe Biden, a narrative that is entirely fabricated. Parnas, who was indicted last fall on campaign finance charges, got approval from a court to hand the documents over to the House impeachment investigators. And Dom, we got 4 big takeaways. Why don't you give number 1?
Crudy, the documents blow up one of Trump's main defenses. The documents contain a letter from Giuliani
Boom goes
to
the
Zelensky.
dynamite.
A letter from Giuliani to Zelensky dated May 10th, in which Giuliani requests a meeting. The New York Times had just reported that Giuliani was set to undertake his pressure campaign. In the letter, Giuliani explicitly states that he was representing Trump, quote, as a private citizen, not as the president of the United States.
But Trump said he did it for us, the United States.
And boom goes the dynamite.
And also that Giuliani was carrying out this mission with Trump's knowledge and consent. That confirms, in Giuliani's own words, that his scheme was geared towards satisfying Trump's personal interests, even as Giuliani was in effect carrying out U.S. foreign relations with an ally. Our national interests were subverted to Trump's own at Trump's explicit direction.
He didn't know you couldn't do that?
One of Trump's main defenses is that in pressing Ukraine to announce an investigation into Joe and Hunter Biden, and another that would absolve Russia of the 2016 electoral sabotage, he was merely acting as a responsible leader. Yet Trump froze hundreds of millions of dollars in military aid while demanding these investigations, but only because he reasonably wanted Ukraine to clean up corruption. That has always been obvious nonsense, but the letter forcefully underscores that point. Trump's defenders cannot explain why, if he was merely acting in the national interest throughout, he needed his private attorney to orchestrate the whole scheme, all to his private benefit.
Dominic, the menacing text from, about Marie Yovanovitch, you remember the ambassador, raised questions that will yield more revelations. The documents contain menacing-sounding text messages between Parnas and an associate, Robert Hyde, a new character, Dom, who appeared to be tracking the movements of Marie Yovanovitch, the former ambassador to Ukraine,
stalker,
removed by Trump. Some texts seem to capture Hyde relating his communications with people tailing Yovanovitch. One said, "You will let me know when she's on the move." Separately, a text from a former top Ukrainian prosecutor shows him pushing Parnas to help oust Yovanovitch so they can carry out efforts to dig dirt on Biden. I read on. Recall, Giuliani wanted Yovanovitch out of the way so he could implement his corrupt pressure on Ukraine. Also, Trump told Zelensky on July 25th that she's going to go through some things, which made Yovanovitch feel threatened. It's not clear what that meant, but at a minimum, we know Giuliani launched an ugly smear campaign to oust Yovanovitch, and plainly Trump was aware of it and in some way before removing her himself. The Foreign Affairs Committee will, in coming hours, demand that the State Department provide information on its knowledge of any security threats to Yovanovitch during the campaign against her. In a statement sent my way, my being the author, Greg Sargent, I believe, Rep. Elliot Engel, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, said the menacing texts are profoundly alarming and noted that the text between Parnas and Hyde occurred at the same time that the two men were also discussing President Trump's efforts through Rudy Giuliani to smear the ambassador's reputation. Engel added, and there's an inset here, the Foreign Affairs Committee will now seek to learn what, if anything, the State Department knew about the situation at the time these messages were sent. Today, I will convey a formal request for documents, information, and a briefing from senior officials related to this matter. This unprecedented threat to our diplomats must be thoroughly investigated and, if warranted, prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Well, the OMB letter, what is it? Office of Legal Conduct.
OLB, yeah. Office of Legal Counsel,
well,
LLC.
What if it's the president that's conducted the illegal behavior, Dom? Ingalls said an initial contact with the Department of Security had drawn a response which he said left him confident that the matter would get attention. Still, in the light of these new revelations, the State Department's stonewalling of an ongoing investigation looks a lot worse. As part of the impeachment inquiry, Democrats had subpoenaed the State Department for documents that could shed light on any knowledge that the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, had of this ongoing campaign, on Giuliani's communications with the State Department about it, and on efforts by Trump and other henchmen to pressure Ukraine more generally. The State Department defied this subpoena, and Pompeo just blew off a request that he testify to the Foreign Affairs Committee about Trump's Iran policies. The State Department is responding to journalistic inquiry with radio silence. And Democrats will have to go on the investigative war footing that will continue after the impeachment saga, and it is likely to produce new revelations.
The 4 big takeaways from the explosive Lev Parnas documents, the plumb line Greg Sargent in the Washington Post. Number 3, Crudy. Senate Republicans should be nervous because time is not on Trump's side. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is protecting vulnerable senators by postponing votes on whether to hear witnesses and new evidence at Trump's impeachment trial until after opening statements in hopes that they'll then be able to claim, "We've heard enough," and vote no. Good luck with that. Time is working against Trump. The revelations we've seen since the House passed articles of impeachment have been extraordinary. First, the New York Times extensively documented that concerns about the legality and propriety of Trump's freezing of military aid ran far deeper inside the administration than previously known. Then the Just Security website released a batch of new documents illustrating this in even more incriminating detail. Now, we're learning both that Giuliani's hijacking of U.S. foreign policy, which was run at Trump's direction to realize his corrupt personal ends, was far more nefarious than we thought, and that enormous unanswered questions still remain about it. The time lag has forced intense public attention on whether GOP senators will admit at Trump's trial new witnesses and evidence that Trump himself blocked during the House impeachment inquiry and now doesn't want senators to see. Vulnerable GOP senators preparing to vote on this suddenly have reason to be a lot more queasy. If they vote no, future revelations will get hung around their neck, the necks of those senators as an example of what they try to cover up on Trump's behalf.
Dominic, more is coming.
Oh, you know it, baby.
A lot more. An official involved with the impeachment inquiry says more documents are coming from Parnas soon. Meanwhile, there will be an extensive investigative media digging that will almost certainly establish more about what precisely Giuliani ordered done on Trump's behalf. Say it with me this time, all throughout. Giuliani ran this scheme at Trump's direction, so we will surely learn more soon enough about what Trump himself knew and when. What they used to say, what the president know and when did he know it? Well, seemingly, Dom, according to this newest evidence being offered, he knew a lot right from the beginning, right? Perhaps at his own direction. What's Trump going to do now? He's going to have to say, my lawyer is a liar. That's his only plausible defense at
You're
this
just
point.
going to have to ask Rudy about that. I don't know.
Liar.
You got to ask my attorney. He's an attorney with my firm. He's a really good attorney. Everybody knows the former mayor. You're just going to have to ask Rudy about that.
What I mean, legally, plausibly, what defense does Trump still have?
Well, I
I know the Republicans will ignore the evidence. They've shown every inclination to do so. And they may still say, well, sure, he's guilty as sin, but, it's not a big enough deal to impeach the man over. But, Dom, I do agree, and I see many saying that Nancy Pelosi lost and Mitch McConnell won. The one being apparently that, he didn't bend over. He didn't take this demand that there be witnesses.
She does not know now any more than she did then what the arena that they will be fighting in is, right?
So that's winning. And by winning, and she said this very well today, right? Winning for them means basically a cover-up, an unjust trial. And the American people, and I would say more than a handful of Republican senators with these newest revelations, Dom, that basically draw a straight line from Trump to Giuliani to corruption, how are they going to say, no, we don't need the evidence, we don't need any witnesses? Of course they will, but I think it will ring hollow. Dom, Jennifer Rubin, I want to get this piece started, also from the Post. New evidence of impeachable conduct. Could it get worse for Trump? ? Yeah. One can only imagine what evidence we have yet to see during the impeachment proceedings against President Trump, with each new tranche of evidence, including emails regarding the hold on military aid in Ukraine, and now documents from Lev Parnas, an associate of Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani's. The conclusion that Trump abused power and obstructed the investigation becomes incontrovertible. The Post reports 3 House committees sent dozens of pages of new evidence to the House Judiciary Committee ahead of Wednesday's transmission of the articles of impeachment, ramping up pressure on Trump to provide Congress with additional documents related to his efforts to get Ukraine to announce an investigation into the Bidens. The documents include handwritten notes, and here's a quote down, get Zelensky to announce that the Biden case will be investigated, referring to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and former Vice President Joe Biden. The text suggesting that then U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Marie Yovanovitch was under surveillance. She was later removed from her post and warned to leave Ukraine immediately. And Politico national security reporter Natasha Bertrand explains this certainly makes it sound like Parnas and company were actively tracking Yovanovitch's movements. This could explain why Yovanovitch was moved out of Ukraine so quickly. This is unprecedented and should be deeply disturbing to all U.S. diplomats. They should not expect Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who refused to defend Yovanovitch and is participating in the cover-up by refusing to provide documents or testimony, to do much of anything.
Yeah, don't look to Pompeo for any leadership in this regard.
Well, he's covering his own ass, man, because he is also guilty, at least, of knowing that the president was directing this corruption and he did nothing to stop it.
Did he know that his
Pompeo
ambassador was being tailed?
Yes, apparently he did.
That's a little creepy.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open for you. Trump in Milwaukee last night, the impeached one. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back with your calls.
Man, I've got certain information, all right? Certain things have come to light.
You're presuming that all the information you have there is completely factual.
Over time, facts develop. That's what investigations do.
I'm not an expert on the facts yet. I'm getting there.
When it comes to politics, Wisconsin's Political Talk Network takes you there, live, to the debate stage, to the convention floor, to the rallies, to the marches, to the halls of Congress. Hear history as it happens, live on the radio. Mandatory listening. Wisconsin's Political Talk Network, because politics matters.
I just don't understand, Jimmy. Double dipping is perfect. We've done nothing wrong. It's just a big fat hoax made up by that crispy Crudy guy and his sidekick Dom Perignon.
Don't worry, Rocker. We just need a simple distraction. Let's go camping.
Unplug from the politics on Saturday and Sunday from 6 to 9. Local music with Rob Roberts sitting in for Jimmy K and Rocker while they're out camping.
They can't impeach us while we're camping, can they, Jimmy?
Pass the dip, Rocker.
It's all on Max Inc. Radio. Radio for the people.
Dom, the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420-2020 celebration from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Our political party runs for 7 nights over the 420 holiday in sunny and cannabis-legal California. The Hilton La Jolla Torrey Pines is near the beach, boasting a world-class golf course, and is just a few minutes' drive from downtown San Diego.
Expedia prices, local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers Madison.
The following is a public service message from Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
In 2020, Wisconsin has 4 statewide elections. Make sure you are registered to vote. Republicans are doing everything they can to make it more difficult for citizens to cast their ballot. Americans have fought and died for the right to vote. The next election is the spring primary on February 18th. Check your registration at myvote.wi.gov.
charged, never convicted. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, a little bit more of this Rubin piece at the Post, and then to the phones, 844-967-2789. We see you stacking up. We'll get there next. Be patient for a moment longer. Rubin writes, the notion that the holdup in aid was motivated by genuine concern for fighting corruption was always implausible. Now with veritable smoking guns popping up left and right, several things should be obvious. First, Trump wanted an announcement of an investigation into a political opponent and was willing to hold up aid in defiance of advice that such action would be illegal. Second, Trump directed Giuliani and the freeze on the aid. This was no rogue action. Third, Trump has been struggling to keep demanding documents and incriminating witnesses away from the public and the Senate. The only reasonable explanation is that, as bad as these documents are for Trump, there's still more damning documents and witnesses under wraps. And constitutional scholar Lawrence Tribe tells me the new evidence is jaw-dropping and highly incriminating of both Giuliani and Trump. Tribe says it's bound to find its way into the Senate trial after Parnas is deposed by the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committee, as he's bound to be. The Giuliani letter presented himself to Zelensky as representing Donald Trump in his private capacity at a time when Zelensky was the president-elect of Ukraine, and he is remarkable in itself. It is kind of a hologram of the whole Ukraine Gate scandal. And with several Republicans purportedly willing to vote for witnesses, the newest document puts additional pressure on Republicans to demand documents and witnesses. As former prosecutor Joyce White Vance observes, the Parnas evidence needs to be assessed for authenticity and reliability. She stressed that the American people also need to know the truth about what happened. Well, Republicans don't give a damn about the truth. These allegations are serious and, if true, make it difficult to understand how this president can be trusted to remain in office. Hey, someone turn off the microphone in the studio, would you?
844-967-2789. We'll get to the phones in just a minute. Crudy, want to get this other piece out there of this document done. This one came out last night, and this is regarding Yuri Litsenko. A couple of paragraphs, then we'll get to the phones. The materials show that Parnas was directly communicating with an array of top Ukrainian officials, among them Yuri Litsenko, at the time the Ukraine's top prosecutor and a close political ally of then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, was running for re-election. Litsenko wanted to get rid of Yovanovitch, the U.S. ambassador, in part because she had been critical of his office and supported a quasi-independent anti-corruption bureau he despised. The messages, written in Russian, show Lutsenko urging Parnas to force out Yovanovitch in exchange for cooperation regarding Biden. At one point, Lutsenko suggests he won't make any helpful public statements unless Madam is removed. It's just that if you don't make a decision about Madam, you are calling into question all of my declarations, including about B. Lutsenko wrote to Parnas in a March 22nd message on WhatsApp. It's unclear if B is a reference to Biden or Burisma, the Ukrainian gas company on whose board Hunter Biden served from 2014 to 2019. Seems like another quid pro quo.
Well said. 844-967-2789. Jake from Milwaukee. Welcome back, sir. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I would like everyone to start the Dave from Mequon justification challenge. So I have one for the justification to try to put
Did it come from a 1974 National Geographic magazine, Jake?
No, actually, it came from Bill Clinton assassinating, what's his name? Bill Clinton assassinated, what's his name? Shoot, I forgot his name. I just knew it. You guys
I hear Hillary off Vince Foster, but I'm not sure what you're talking about,
yeah,
Jake.
Vince Foster, yes. So the fact is... Well, no, let me speak. The fact is, yeah, they tried to off Yovanovitch or kidnap her or get her to stop speaking, but they failed, right? So then it doesn't really matter. It's not a crime. I mean, do you guys agree?
Right.
Much like Trump failed to commit the quid pro quo, it was just attempted quid pro quo.
They eventually
No
got
harm,
the
no
money
foul.
in Ukraine, right? So what's the problem?
Yeah, there is no problem. No big deal. I mean, guys, you're just too hard on Trump. I mean, it's really the Democrats' fault.
That's right.
All the
That's
time.
right. Thank you
And-
for reminding us, Jake. We appreciate it. We sometimes lose sight of that.
It's a hoax. 844-967-2789. We'll give Gary, a minute or two. Welcome back, Gary. How was the Trump rally last night?
I didn't want to wait in line, so I watched it on TV, and then I taped the Democratic debate, and then
And
I
you watched that already, Gary?
Yeah, I watched it right away. Now,
And you caught the Badger game last night? Big win against Maryland.
No, I did not. I didn't hear about that until this morning. No, I'm sorry I missed it. But hey, I got 2 points, and just let me get them out, and then you can respond.
Make them quick. Make them quick.
I will make it quick. Okay, the Democrats, they ended up impeaching him, okay? So then they had these all the evidence, the witnesses come forward. Now, isn't it, when it goes to the Senate, aren't they supposed to deliberate and then also find him guilty of these charges and everything, correct? So let's say if there's a trial, once it's given to the jury cannot go out there and start talking, well, we want to have more witnesses. No, they have to decide on what was heard from the Democrats, correct? So you cannot also...
No, absolutely not.
Mitch McConnell
No,
is
hang on. Let me
setting the
respond,
agenda.
if I may. Come on. If you're going through a trial and all of a sudden in the middle of the trial you find the murder weapon, you're going to tell me that they're not going to admit that as evidence?
No.
Of course that's...
Once it's given to the jury and the jury's deliberating, they cannot go out there and say, well, we want more witnesses. It's basically too late. They're not supposed to do it.
Are you suggesting that at this late hour it's not a trial, it's a sequestered jury deliberation? Because that's not what it is.
Come on, Gary. Listen. Do you think someone like Les Parnas should talk? Do you think someone like Bolton should testify? Do you think the things they may have to say would be relevant?
Do you want the facts, Gary, or do you want a fake trial?
No, how long is this going to go on? It's going to go on.
Answer the question.
So all
Facts-
the evidence is presented.
Facts or fake trial, Gary? What do you want?
I want everything to be done in order, and when the Democrats with the impeachment trial that they had, and they found him guilty, they voted as a partisan. Now it's up to the jury, the Senate, to decide whether he's guilty or
No, that was the indictment stage.
Yes.
If you're looking for an analogy, now comes the trial, and there may be new evidence because, he's awfully guilty, Gary, and it keeps coming out. Come back with us. Hour 2 is next. Our good buddy Earl Ingram Jr., fresh off a Donald Trump rally. I'm so proud of the man.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
An impeachment that will last forever.
And boom goes the dynamite.
So, Dave, I hear you and your team at Community PC can really help a guy like me when I'm having a hard time keeping my computer up to date.
Oh yeah, Crudy. Community PC provides great service from trusted local technicians to give our clients peace of mind when it comes to their computers.
Will I wait on hold all day?
Our team can provide you with immediate trusted remote service. We also offer timely on-site service in Dane and Rock counties. Find us at commpc.com to learn more. Community PC. We know what makes computers happy.
From kitchens to bathrooms, granite countertops elevate your home from ordinary to extraordinary. Habo Granite & Stone is your local option for luxury countertops at affordable prices. They offer quality service that can be trusted and provide quick installation with no huge lead times. If you have been thinking about upgrading your home with granite countertops, now is the time to contact our team at Habo Granite & Stone. Find us at habogranite.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Special report: House sends impeachment articles to Senate. The House articles of impeachment are supposed to be handed over to the Senate at this hour, but there's some uncertainty about whether the Senate will actually take them. The House Speaker is about to sign the 2 articles of impeachment in the Rayburn Room. That's in the House. She'll place them in a blue folder and begin a ceremonial walk to the Senate where she will officially hand them over. Trial procedures would begin tomorrow, including the official reading of the articles. Opening statements set Tuesday. Senate Republicans have been saying when the House managers arrive, presumably in the next few minutes, the Republicans will tell them to come back tomorrow and read the articles on the floor then in what would be the opening of the impeachment trial. Democrats nonetheless say they still expect the articles will be accepted when they are presented in the next few minutes. But at least at this moment, there's a lot of uncertainty. I'm Mike Moss. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam says he is temporarily banning all guns and weapons from the area around the Capitol in Richmond ahead of a major gun rights demonstration set for next week.
We have received credible intelligence from our law enforcement agencies that there are groups with malicious plans for the rally that is planned for Monday.
Virginia's General Assembly today ratified the Equal Rights Amendment that would ban discrimination on the basis of sex and guarantee equality for women under the Constitution. Final approval would make Virginia the 38th state to ratify the ERA. The U.S. and China today signed an initial trade deal to boost Chinese purchases of U.S. products. The agreement, though relatively small, diffuses an 18-month-old trade war between the world's 2 biggest economies. The deal doesn't address the more difficult trade disputes between the nations. The Dow was up 90 points today. I'm Mike Moss.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on Talk 101.7 FM. Weekdays, you can hear Democracy Now! From 7 to 8 a.m. Then it's the Earl Ingram Show from 8 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Online at talk1017fm.com. Wisconsin's Political Talk, because politics matters.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
The last decade was by far the hottest ever measured on Earth. Correspondent Jan Johnson has the findings from 2 federal government agencies.
The scientists say there may be no end in sight to the record-busting heat and the wildfires, melting ice, and extreme weather that researchers say comes with it. The director of NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies says the planet as a whole may be the hottest it's been during the past 11,000 years or so. Temperatures worldwide over the last decade averaged just over 48 degrees Fahrenheit, higher than the 20th century average, and the decade claimed 8 of the 10 hottest years on record, 2019 coming in just behind the hottest ever, 2016. Jan Johnson, Washington.
Arizona Democrat Ann Kirkpatrick is taking time off to get treatment for alcohol dependence and says she's finally getting treatment after struggling to do so in the past. Her leave comes after a serious fall last week. I'm Mike.
Wisconsin's Political Talk Network is celebrating their 3-year anniversary Tuesday, February 4th at
Regano's Roman Coin
on Brady Street in Milwaukee. Lakefront beer for all of our friends while supplies last. The Devils will kick off the party live from
Regano's Roman Coin
beginning at 5 o'clock in the Devil's Advocates Happy Hour. Come celebrate 3 years of Wisconsin's Political Talk Network
at Regano's Roman Coin
with the whole station. Tuesday, February 4th. First beer's on us.
Are you considering selling your Madison area home? This is Amy Hopfinger with Homestead Realty. Home prices are changing, so it's important not to waste your time and money with renovations that won't affect the value of your home. Allow my team's experts to determine which projects you should and shouldn't do to receive top dollar for your home. Homestead Realty, no pressure, no obligation to list. To learn more, check out wihomeprices.com.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Republican-controlled Wisconsin Assembly today will try to override a veto by Governor Tony Evers of a bill that would prohibit the requirement of more training for nurses' aides than what is required by federal regulators. In a message posted in November when he vetoed the bill, the governor said he objected to providing less training for those who care for our state's most vulnerable citizens. The governor added that research has shown that higher training standards result in better outcomes for patients, lower staff turnover, and higher job satisfaction. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, mostly cloudy, lows around 14 degrees in Milwaukee, 6 degrees for Madison. Tomorrow, sunshine with highs only in the upper teens. You're listening to Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we welcome a friend and a fine colleague. He is Earl Ingram Jr., WRD's own. Earl, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Hey, man, it's good to be here. It's been a while.
Hey, Earl, you made it out of the Trump rally, man. Welcome back.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here.
So how was it, Earl? Your very first Donald Trump rally up close. I saw you were tagging your social media post last night. From the belly of the beast. Did it feel like you were in the belly of the beast last night, Earl?
You know what, Crudy and Dom, I didn't, to be quite honest, I never felt threatened at all in talk with people. I got a lot of terrible leers, there's no question. I thought maybe by showing my press pass, it would, cushion me a little bit more, but I wasn't thinking that, man, the press being around is just as dangerous as being an African American now. So I was
at a Donald Trump rally, certainly it is, Earl.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
We didn't see the Trump rally last night, obviously preoccupied with other events, but Trump turned the crowd and looked back on the press pen that I suspect you were in last night, Earl, and basically shook a fist and encouraged, his followers to chant CNN sucks or something of that effect?
Well, basically all press sucks is what they were saying. And, as I looked around at the press and mainly television and all of those folk, they really were discouraged. The looks on their faces, they're covering this, and yet they're being targeted. And to be honest with you, I had some conversations with many of them, and they're tired of it. They didn't like it one bit. They took offense to it.
Earl, I've seen it photographed. Donald Trump brought the White Boys Club up to the stage. All the Wisconsin Republicans were there. I see Ron Johnson. I see Steil. I see Gallagher. I see Glenn Grothman, I see Sensenbrenner, Robin Voss, Scott Fitzgerald, and hell, even CNN contributor Sean Duffy made it up on the stage. A lot of diversity up there standing by Trump.
Well, the only diversity was the size of each one of their bellies. Some of the guys are a little smaller, but, when I looked up at all of those folk, I couldn't help but realize, man, it wasn't that long ago that Scott Walker would have been there, Paul Ryan would have been there, Reince Priebus would have been there. Oh, how this changes.
Priebus was there, and Scott Walker did get a shout-out from the president, my understanding.
So the shout-out about Scott Walker, man, brought the house down. He brought the house down when he mentioned Scott Walker's name.
And when you say the house down, it was at UW Milwaukee Panther Arena. My understanding, Earl, it was full. They had seating for about 10,000, and my understanding is there was more than 10,000 in the room, and then there were people waiting to get in the room. So, Trump still got his love, at least in southeastern Wisconsin.
The place was filled to capacity, and if you count all the people that were on the floor, at 10,000 seats, I'd say at least an additional 1,000 or more on the floor in the bowl. And so, and not to mention, as I came out, there was the park or that pavilion where it is was completely packed. You had a lot of people there, man. There's no question. And I think just seeing that many people this close to election gives me pause, man, to think that he can do it again.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That's our friend and morning show host, Earl Ingram Jr., joining us on the phones from the Brady Street studios. Earl, I got to ask you a very important question here. Did you hear Elton John, Tiny Dancer, being played over and over again? What'd you think of the music list?
And deafening, man, deafening.
Yeah.
The sound is turned up. You can't hear yourself speak. And I don't know why they do that.
Because they want to mess with the press, Earl. That's why they do it.
Is that what it is, Dominic?
I don't know any other reason. We've been to lots of rallies, Earl, from different candidates. Never have had that kind of volume in any other place we've been in.
Man, you can't think, and it irritates, except for it didn't appear to be irritating the Trumpkins. It didn't. And I'll tell you one thing, man. When I heard him go to lying, because everything out of his mouth, as you guys know, was a lie. But when he started talking about the claims about African Americans' poverty and has reached the lowest rate ever recorded, and African Americans are joining the Republican Party, like never before. And I got to tell you, man, I looked around and I was looking, believe it or not, to see if there were some other brothers around. And I don't think I saw 10. Out of that 11,000 or so people. So, 99.9% of the people there certainly weren't black. So the more I hear people claim that blacks are starting to move over towards Donald Trump, absolutely a lie.
Well, perhaps the African Americans were afraid to come down to Milwaukee and watch Trump. A lot of violent crime down there.
Hey, man, to be quite honest with you, I don't think African Americans were concerned one iota about the Trump rally, and that shows. That's why many would not even waste their time. They know who
Earl,
Donald Trump is.
Was it your impression that the audience were just, blind zombies, in the palm of Donald Trump's hands, or were they independent thinking? What's your evaluation of the crowd and their politics and their motivations for being there?
Well, let's put it this way. It's 2020, right? It's 2020. Why is it that when I interviewed and talked to many of them, I got the same thing, and that was Donald Trump has done the greatest job of any president in the history of the nation. Donald Trump is going to protect us. I kept asking them, protect you from what?
Well, they didn't want to say they meant black people, Earl.
Hey, Crudy, come on, man. But that's got to be what they're talking about, man.
So they come out and they're all saying the same things, right? They know all the songs. Did you hear Lock Her Up? Did you hear Build the Wall?
What are you talking about? Lock her up, build the wall. Donald Trump has no shame. Donald Trump made the statements. He said, we're going to build the wall and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. Yay! And I'm like, he's still saying that, and they're still cheering to it.
It's the greatest hits, man. When you're on stage, you gotta play what the people want.
Earl,
and he struts around, man, like a peacock.
Yeah,
a rooster, Earl.
That's
Let me ask you, speaking of strutting around like a rooster, did you see Sheriff David A. Clark Jr.? Was he in the building last night? Did he speak from the stage?
I didn't see him. Did they say he was there?
No, I would just assume if Trump was in town.
Well,
I thought he was Trump's one black friend.
Yeah, but it didn't end amicably between Trump and Clark. It didn't, and that's what you get, man, when you sell your soul to the devil, and expect that he's going to treat you right. And so, no, David Clark I did not see, and I would have certainly guessed that he would have been up on the stage with Trump and the boys.
Well, he had been at plenty of prior rallies when Trump was in like West Bend claiming he was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Well, I don't know what their friendship certainly isn't what it was before. Trump is a guy, as you all know, uses people and casts them asunder, and he did the same thing with Sheriff Clark.
Well, I think Clark claimed that he had a job in the Trump administration coming, and one must wonder how connected he was to the Russians if he was the one guy that couldn't make the grade of the Trump administration, right? And it makes you wonder, is it because he was black?
Well, let's put it this way. How many black folks are hanging out with Donald Trump? You've got a guy.
Amorosa, Ben Carson, and David A. Clark Jr., basically.
Well, this is how I feel about it. There's a black guy and there are black people and colored people, and not a lot of black people hanging out with Donald Trump. And Ben Carson is the only one. Think about it. He's the only guy. And rarely do you see him ever pictured with Donald Trump. So for all
folks,
of
we
those,
are.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. We're going to wrap up this segment. You got some time to stick around for one more segment with us, Earl?
Come on,
all right. Earl Ingram Jr., our friend and fine morning host. We've got 2 minutes left. Let me ask you, Earl, obviously in Milwaukee, addressing Wisconsin issues, Foxconn, something that many of us are very concerned about. Did the president mention this boondoggle that was thrust upon the state of Wisconsin?
Come on, man. I didn't hear him mention it at all. If he did, it might have been at a time when I had to go out and I had to relieve myself. So if he said that, it was during that time.
So, come on, Earl. You can't hold your water during the entirety of a 90-minute speech, man. We drove all the way back from Des Moines. Dom didn't stop at all.
I'm 65 years old. Wait till you get there.
Yeah. I'll give you a journalist trick, Earl. You can try this at the next Trump rally. Most of those people standing all around you, they're wearing Depends, Earl. Like the astronauts do.
Don't believe him, Earl.
Hey, I haven't given it much thought.
Earl Ingram, I'm sorry, Earl Ingram Jr. Keep stepping in, man. Stick around, come back with us. We want to play a little sound. Now, we may not have heard a whole lot about Foxconn or perhaps other Wisconsin-centered issue, but we heard about dishwashers and water pressure and light bulbs. And light bulbs. Apparently, they make you look orange, Earl.
Yeah, he's bringing back the old light bulbs.
Earl, in your case, they make you look kind of old. Come back with us, our good friend Earl Ingram Jr. If we can't bust his balls, whose balls will we bust?
So, do you come to Milwaukee often?
How did Scott Walker win 3 governor's races in Wisconsin? How did Donald Trump win Wisconsin, carry the presidency despite losing the primary to Ted Cruz? Right-wing talk radio. 81 stations spewing 235 hours a day of variety heat across the Badger State. You cannot win elections in Wisconsin by ceding the airwaves to Republicans, especially in Milwaukee and the Wall counties. The answer, we built a Wisconsin political talk network, 2 Metro FM stations in Milwaukee and Madison, rural AM stations in Waukesha and Columbus, covering 2.5 million Wisconsinites with our message. I used my own savings, my credit, pledged my home, sold my business. I'm all in. Are you? Can you stand with us now? I have built a messaging tool. We have assembled a great team, but changing outcomes requires rapid promotion and costs money. Can you help me? Can you buy ads, promote your campaign, or give a direct donation?
If you can help us, go to GoFundMe.com and search Resistance Radio Wisconsin. The following is a public service message from Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
In 2020, Wisconsin has 4 statewide elections. Make sure you are registered to vote. Republicans are doing everything they can to make it more difficult for citizens to cast their ballot. Americans have fought and died for the right to vote. The next election is the spring primary on February 18th. Check your registration at myvote.wi.gov.
Wisconsin's Political Talk Network is celebrating their 3-year anniversary Tuesday, February 4th at
Regano's Roman Coin
on Brady Street in Milwaukee. Lakefront beer for all of our friends while supplies last. The Devils will kick off the party live from
Regano's Roman Coin
beginning at 5 o'clock in the Devil's Advocates Happy Hour. Come celebrate 3 years of Wisconsin's Political Talk Network at
Regano's Roman Coin
with the whole station. Tuesday, February 4th. First beer's on us.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can dial us up at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we've got our good friend Earl Ingram Jr. in the Brady Street studios. And Earl, I don't know if you noted last night, this is traditionally how Trump ends his rallies. You can't always get what you want. Sort of a middle finger to everybody.
Yeah,
you still there, Earl?
Yeah, I'm here.
I didn't know if you were taking your mid-afternoon nap.
Listen, I no longer have to do any of those things.
Yeah, see,
because I no longer have to get up at 3:30 in the morning.
Well, I thought perhaps rush off to an early all-you-could-eat buffet. The senior special runs till 5, Earl.
Oh, man,
look,
Earl.
Age is only a number.
Amen, brother. Rather be older than dead.
And remember, you young whippersnappers have to get to this point.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Hey, Earl, I want to play a little bit of sound. Brian, going to need your help on this. This is just amazing that Donald Trump would be talking about water pressure, but let's hear it, Earl, and I want to get your response after a couple of cuts, 20 and 21, please, Brian.
Sinks, toilets, and showers. You don't get any water. They put restrictors on, and now they made them permanent. People used to take them out. They put restrictors on. Try going and buying a new faucet. You turn it on, no water comes out, right? You go into the shower, right? You turn on the water, drip, drip, drip. I call the guy, is something wrong with this? No, sir, it's just a restrictor. So you're in there 5 times longer than you're supposed to be. You use probably more water. And it's a very unpleasant experience, right? So we're getting rid of the restrictors. You're going to have full shower flow.
I mean, the crowd really, really loves the full shower flow,
I need a
Earl.
full release shower, Earl.
You know what?
What's your take, Earl?
Man, with all of the things going on and all of the issues of the world, and he's talking about that, and the people are roaring.
That's because he's got his finger on the pulse, Earl.
On the pulse of the Trumpkins. And it doesn't take
low-flow toilets, apparently. That's a pressing issue for all the big poopers at the Trump rally.
Earl, let's keep going on the sound. I mean, it wasn't just about the showers, of course. Now we're on to the dishwashers. Cut 22, please.
But I'm also approving new dishwashers that give you more water so you can actually wash and rinse your dishes without having to do it 10 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
My impression is he's showing off that he can count to 10.
Anybody have a new dishwasher? I'm sorry for that. It's worthless. They give you so little water. You ever see it? Air comes out. So little water. So what happens? You end up using it 10 times, and the plates, then you take them out and do them the old-fashioned way, right? The number's probably 28, 29, as high as 35. In fact, I even heard recently 42%.
Earl, I'm a little disappointed. I'm hearing this now. My wife and I actually just bought a new dishwasher.
I didn't realize McDonald's served Big Macs on dishes.
Let me ask you guys. Here's a billionaire. He's got gold fixtures, gold toilets at Trump Towers. Everything is the top of the line. He doesn't wash any dishes. How does he know anything about what it takes with dishwashers? And why is that an issue? And why are they cheering for that?
I know, man, Earl. Those are great questions, and I'm glad you asked them. But let's move along.
Trump strikes me as the sort of inconsiderate bastard that uses the bathroom and doesn't flush at all.
Oh, well, he is a builder, and perhaps, he's talking about things he knows. Perhaps he's ordered a couple of toilets in his time, some showers, some plumbing.
Yeah, the cheapest ones.
What about the light bulbs? Brian, let's do cut 23 and 24.
I brought back the old light bulb. Woohoo! Somebody said, "Oh, sir, don't mention the light bulb." It's hard to make an elegant speech. I'm saying I brought back the light bulb. So the new light bulb costs you 5 times as much, and it makes you look orange. And I was more interested in the orange than I was in the cost.
Earl, just a couple of minutes left in the segment. I mean, other than
I hate the new light bulbs.
House remodel. What was your takeaway from the Trump rally ultimately?
Terrified, because the fact that people who would probably be considered normal people have given up their abilities to think independently and have jumped on the bandwagon of a man who is as dangerous a man as there's ever been in the White House. And the fact that we laugh and joke about it, but what I saw in those people, I think, is a frightening statement that all of us need to really think about, especially as the debates and the determining factor of who is going to be the nominee for the Democrats is as crucial a time as there's ever been in politics. And you got to get Democrats better get it right, because if this cat gets 4 more years, he's talking about light bulbs now. Imagine 4 years from now when the mental illness that he suffers and manifests itself even more. That's what I'm concerned about. All jokes aside, that's what I'm concerned about.
Well, I can't set all jokes aside, Earl, and I agree with the man. I don't like the newfangled light bulbs. They make me look chubby and bald. Earl Ingram Jr., you're a brave man. Thanks a lot for going to Trump in our absence. We'll let you know. I bet he comes back around, Earl. I hope you come back around. Earl Ingram Jr., the morning host, WRRD in Milwaukee, 8 to 11 a.m., tune him in each weekday, and Saturdays, noon to 2. Earl, thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, see you guys later.
Thanks, Earl.
More Devils on the other side. We'll be right back with Charles Franklin.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
I brought back the old light bulb.
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
This is Ben Wickler, chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Donald Trump came to our state last night. He said a lot. What he didn't say was, "I'm sorry," for breaking his promises on prescription drugs. This is a guy who campaigned on the promise that he would stand up to Big Pharma and then ran in the exact opposite direction. His own advisors taking huge payouts from pharmaceutical giants to protect their profit margins. I was in Milwaukee yesterday with a senior who held up an inhaler and said that her copays had gone from $25 per inhaler to $75 per inhaler for exactly the same medicine. This is what people who voted for Trump and believed his lies the first time were voting against, but it's happening. And this is why we're going to beat him in 2020. People know that he broke his promises. People know that he can't run away from his record. And Democrats will be organizing in every corner of Wisconsin to make sure that if anyone forgets even for a second, the reality comes right back to them. People are hurting in their pocketbooks because of Trump's broken promises, and he's not going to get away with it.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
When it comes to politics, Wisconsin's Political Talk Network takes you there, live, to the debate stage, to the convention floor, to the rallies, to the marches, to the halls of Congress. Hear history as it happens, live on the radio. Mandatory listening. Wisconsin's Political Talk Network, because politics matters.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Monday, February 3rd, the Devil's Advocates will be on the ground in Iowa, covering the first in the nation Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Live from Loras College in Dubuque, the Devil's Advocates return to the caucus site won by Bernie Sanders in 2016. Now his challengers include Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Andrew Yang. Special coverage begins at 7 on Talk 92.7 FM in Madison, Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee. Iowa Caucus's Devil's Advocates.
Milwaukee is a great city with a great history and great architecture. You can take in Milwaukee's history and architecture while you partake in the delicious Wisconsin craft beer at Regano's Roman Coin. The Roman Coin features weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, pinball, a pool table, a jukebox, and a great selection of craft beers. The Roman Coin is also pet-friendly to appeal to the canine crowd, and you can order it from several nearby restaurants. Regano's Roman Coin, 1004 East Brady Street on Milwaukee's east side.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Milwaukee County Election Commission yesterday tied in a 1-to-1 vote on whether to remove two candidates for county executive from the ballot. Glendale Mayor Brian Kennedy and former state Senator Jim Sullivan were accused of hiring people to collect signatures for their nominating papers who had already collected signatures for another candidate, which is against state law. In the case of a tie, the case is dismissed, so Kennedy and Sullivan will be allowed to remain on the ballot. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows around 14 degrees in Milwaukee, 6 degrees in Madison. Tomorrow, sunshine, but cold with highs only in the upper teens. And then Friday, cloudy with a chance of snow and highs in the lower 30s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I want to thank our most recent guest, our good friend, Earl Ingram Jr. Don't forget, listen to Earl 8 to 11 a.m. every morning, WRRD 1510 a.m. And of course, Earl plays network-wide every Saturday, noon to 2. And now we welcome another fine guest, a friend of ours. He is Charles Franklin. He is the pollster extraordinaire with the Marquette University Law School poll. And Charles, we snuck off to Iowa, and you tried to sneak a poll by us. Well, I'm glad we saw it, Charles. Welcome back, my friend.
Hello.
Hey,
yes, Charles. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm still here. Sorry about that.
Charles, our understanding, new Marquette University Law School polling is out. Let's start with the Democrats. Dom and I just came back from Iowa, big debate last night. What do Wisconsin voters think about this Democratic field? Who is the front runner currently, Charles?
Biden remains the front runner, as he has been throughout the fall. 23% first choice for him, 19% for Sanders, not far back. And that's also where where Bernie has been most of the time. Then you drop off just a little bit to Buttigieg at 15, Warren at 14. Buttigieg hadn't moved since last month. Warren is down 2 points from last month. But that top four has been pretty consistent since the beginning of October, at least.
Now, Charles, I've been watching a bit of television as the months get colder, and I've seen lots and lots of Mike Bloomberg advertising here in Wisconsin. Are people noticing, is Bloomberg garnering any support yet in the polling, at least the Marquette polling?
Yeah, he has moved up a little bit, but he's down at 6%. Andrew Yang is also at 6%, but both of them saw a 3-point rise from a month ago from the December poll. So they both moved up a little bit, but neither is cracking double digits yet. Bloomberg still has a lot of people that don't really recognize his name, as is true of Yang and for that matter, Klobuchar.
Now, Charles, if I recall, when your December polling came out, you did the head-to-head between the candidates, and every single Democrat was losing to Trump, excepting Joe Biden, who had a narrow 1-point lead, and that was well within the margin of error. How are the Dems doing head-to-head now, Charles?
Yeah, they've improved a bit, but it's still a split decision, and it's still a margin of error territory. Biden now has a 4-point lead, 49-45 over Trump. The margin of error is 4.1, so that's right on the margin, right on the edge of that. But that is 3 points better than he was doing with that 1-point margin last time that you mentioned. Bernie is 1 point ahead of Trump, 47-46, but he trailed by 2 last time, so a little better for him. Warren, on the other hand, has gone a little bit down. She was 1 point behind Trump last time. She's 3 points down to him this time. And Buttigieg was down 1 last time, down 2 this time. Almost all of that movement is pretty small, margin of error, yada, yada, yada. But you do see that Biden and Sanders have gotten a little bit stronger against Trump over each of the last 3 polls, where Warren and Buttigieg have more or less tread water in that period, not a clear trend up or down for them.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Marquette University pollster Charles Franklin joins us on the phone. Charles, obviously some foreign policy issues here recently. Just want to get, what's the sense? Do people approve of what's going on with the Iran, and what's the status of Trump's disapproval rating?
Right. Trump's foreign policy approval or disapproval is the weak spot for him compared to his overall approval or the economy. 44% approve, 53% disapprove of the way he's handling foreign policy. That's barely changed. Last month it was 43-54. So no bump following the military exchange with Iran, neither up nor down. People have come away from that military adventure pretty hopeful or pretty optimistic about what it leads to. 61% think the two countries are likely to avoid further military conflict. Just 30% think that we likely will get into a bigger military conflict with Iran. So I'd say that's an interesting perspective after we killed their general and they shot missiles at our bases, but we seem to be backing away from that. The other question was sort of, how did people feel about it? And we asked a question saying, do you agree or disagree that it's about time we hit back at Iran? 43% said it is time, but 51% said it's not. So a bit of a split decision, but a slight majority not agreeing with the sentiment that we should militarily attack Iran. The bottom line is, military events often produce a surge in support for a president. In this case, no effect.
And Charles, foreign policy aside, how about the other national policy issues that you polled about global warming, immigration, and tariffs? What are the people of Wisconsin saying on those issues?
Yeah, on global warming, we wanted to know whether people think that this is something that will really seriously hurt Americans. 42% think it will. Another 21% think it probably will, or at least will somewhat. But there's 19% who say global warming won't have any hurtful effects on the country, and 16% more say it'll have a small effect. So you basically have a sort of 2/3, 1/3 split between people who are at least pretty worried about the impact of warming, but about a third who really don't think it's going to be much of a problem. On immigration, that's an interesting one because obviously legal immigration is something that historically, the country has been built on. 35% say that we should increase the number of people allowed to legally immigrate, and 41% think we should keep it the same. So that's 76%, 3/4 in favor. But 20% think we should cut legal immigration into the country. And finally, on tariffs, 32% think tariffs help the economy, 37% think it hurts, 24% think it doesn't have any effect. That's actually a little less worry about tariffs. A higher percentage said it will hurt the economy 6 months ago. So that's come down, not a lot, but it has come down a bit. There's maybe the scare over the announcement of big tariffs that we saw at the end of the summer has kind of passed by, and Trump's engagement with China, signing an agreement today, maybe has relieved the concerns people have there.
You're listening to the Devil's Advocates. We've got pollster extraordinaire, our good friend Charles Franklin, live via phone. Marquette University Law School poll, new polling out today. And Charles, the topic that's dominated the day's headlines, impeachment. And of course, Donald Trump is being impeached, and the articles have been moved from the House now to the Senate side. Charles, what about the polling? What do Wisconsin voters, or at least those that were polled by the Marquette University poll, what do they think on the topic of impeachment? First and foremost, did the House what's their opinion of the House's action to date?
Yeah, it's nearly an even split. 47% approved the House vote to impeach, 49% opposed. So a very close division there. Looking to the Senate, 44% say the Senate should convict and remove Trump from office. 49% are opposed to that. Back before the House impeachment vote, we had 40% saying that Trump should be both impeached and removed from office. So that's not far from the 44-49 split that we see on that issue now. The other thing is on Trump's conduct with Ukraine, we've seen almost no movement. 40% say that he did something very wrong, seriously wrong. 14% it was wrong, but not seriously so. And 37% not wrong at all. And those numbers have barely budged as we've gone through the investigation, through the public hearings, through the vote on impeachment. We're just really not seeing people change their minds on this.
Charles, let's turn our attention here to the Badger State. How's Governor Tony Evers doing in the latest approval-disapproval ratings?
He's doing pretty well. He has a net approval of plus 11 percentage points, 51 approved, 40 disapproved. It was plus 12 last month, so hardly changed at all. And that's up from a plus 5 in November. But that November is sort of the low point. He was at plus 18 before that. So he's holding pretty solidly, but it's a little bit more like it is, low double digits as opposed to early in the fall in August and in October when he was up closer to 20% net approval.
Charles, what about our two senators, Democrat Tammy Baldwin and Republican Ron Johnson? What did the voters think of those two?
Both have positive net favorabilities. Johnson's is 39-29. But as we see month after month, more people don't know enough about Johnson to have an opinion. 31% said they didn't know enough or didn't have an opinion about him. In contrast, that's only 15% that say they don't know enough about Tammy Baldwin. Her favorability was 44 favorable, 40 unfavorable. And her numbers have been bouncing around a little bit between a little bit positive and a little bit negative. We've now seen a couple of months in a row where they're on the net positive side. Johnson, with that larger don't know, nevertheless ends up with a slightly bigger net favorability, plus 10 this time.
Charles, what about right track, wrong track? I always thought that was one of the most important questions to poll. What do Wisconsinites think about the state of right track, wrong track?
This is a little bit puzzling. This month, it's at 46 right direction, 47 wrong track. So just basically dead even, a shade underwater. But that's out of line with what we've seen earlier in the fall, when it was typically in the low 50s. Last month, it was 53-39. If there were other things that had gone seriously wrong in the state in this last month, I think I'd point to that. But people's views of the economy remain quite positive, both looking backwards and looking forward. Governor Evers' job approval is net positive and hasn't changed in the last month. So I'm going to wave a caution flag on this right direction, wrong track and say if it has dipped, that's an important development. But we need to see this stay in this lower level of optimism, if you will, on it, and see if that's a real thing or whether we just happen to see grumpy people this month.
Well, that could be. Although the Packers are winning, I would think that would be great for right track, wrong track for the state of Wisconsin.
Well, you know, the last night of polling was Sunday night, so maybe all the happy people were watching the Packers and the grumpy ones were answering their phones.
Yes, sir. Like the Patriots fans, perhaps.
Oh, nice.
Our good friend, Charles Franklin, thank you so much for coming by the Devil's Advocates on a day when the Marquette polling has dropped.
Thanks.
Charles, thank you very much. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We're going to have an interview with Ben Wickler, the Democratic Party chair. Now, this interview took place last night, an abbreviated interview in the Spin Room in Des Moines, but we want to share it with you. It happened too late, in hour 5 of our broadcast, so we don't want you to miss it. We'll play it for you. Come back with us in an interview with Ben Wickler and the Devil's Advocates.
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. Right now, we're preparing for Cincinnati.
I just don't understand, Jimmy. Double dipping is perfect. We've done nothing wrong. It's just a big fat hoax made up by that crispy Crudy guy and his sidekick, Dom Perignon.
Don't worry, Rocker. We just need a simple distraction. Let's go camping.
Unplug from the politics on Saturday and Sunday from 6 to 9. Local music with Rob Roberts sitting in for Jimmy K and Rocker while they're out camping.
They can't impeach us while we're camping, can they, Jimmy?
Has to dip, Rocker.
It's all on Max Inc. Radio. Radio for the people.
Monday, February 3rd, the Devil's Advocates will be on the ground in Iowa, covering the first in the nation Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Live from Loras College in Dubuque, the Devil's Advocates return to the caucus site won by Bernie Sanders in 2016. Now his challengers include Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Andrew Yang. Special coverage begins at 7 on Talk 92.7 FM in Madison, Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee, Iowa Caucus's Devil's Advocates.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. In the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now. Advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services. Get your message out. Join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872. Or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Whether you are remodeling your current space or constructing a new home, Habo Granite & Stone is here for all of your countertop needs. Habo Granite & Stone is family-owned and offers a large selection of natural stone colors and all of the manufactured brands to complement every room in your home. From granite to marble and so much more, our local craftsmen work to customize the perfect countertops to suit your needs. Find us at HAYBO, habogranite.com.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Exclamation point.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. We want to thank Charles Franklin, the pollster at the Marquette University Law School polling operation. Thank you so much for joining us. A couple more issues, points I want to get out to that poll before we move along here, Crudy. The Marquette poll asked about racial prejudice. State of Wisconsin has some issues in that regard. I was very happy to see that Charles Franklin asked about this. Sorry we didn't get to it with Charles, but I want to read a little bit to you here from the report. You can find it at law.marquette.edu/poll. On racial prejudice, 1/3 of respondents, 34%, say that racial prejudice against black people is a very serious problem, with 38% saying it is somewhat serious. 17% say it is not a serious problem, and 9% say it is not a problem at all. Prejudice against Hispanic or Latino people is seen as a very serious problem by 29%, as a somewhat serious problem by 36%, and as not so serious by 19%, and not a problem at all by 12%. So according to 9% and 12%, no racial issues here in the state of Wisconsin. The other another item here worth noting, Foxconn. 35% say that Foxconn will be worth the money the state provides in incentives to the company, while 46% say the state is paying more than the plant is worth, and 19% say they don't know. Nobody knows. Who knows?
If they don't know, we don't know. Dominic, wanted to make sure we left time for the Ben Wickler interview with us in Des Moines yesterday. He had come directly from the anti-Donald Trump rally in Milwaukee. Trump, of course, in Milwaukee last night. As Trump was speaking, Ben was making his way to the debate in Des Moines, and he joined us at the very tail end of the show. I don't know how many people were still listening. So, Fancy Brian, if you'd be so kind, play Ben Wickler and the Devil's Advocates, just a little review of last night from Des Moines.
Hey, we got Ben Wickler coming down here. Ben, I don't know if you can see me. I got my hand up. We got a fine guest to close the show out with, Democratic Party Chair, great state of Wisconsin, Ben Wickler. Come join the party here, man. Get those headphones on. So glad you made it to Des Moines, Ben. Welcome to the party.
Thank you so much. The party is on. I did a press conference in Milwaukee about healthcare and Trump's broken promises, got in a car, drove to the office in Madison, picked up my bag, drove here, went through a maze of different places to get credentialed, and just walked in. So
awesome to see you, Ben Wickler. You made it to the spin room, man. How did the Trump rally go? Is Milwaukee prepared for Donald Trump?
I mean, Milwaukee is... There's so much organizing going on in Milwaukee. People are ready to fight this guy. And in all the communities across the city, there's a kind of a new level of energy and focus. It's going to be a huge fight, but Donald Trump is going to lose Milwaukee by huge margins. And with all the fighting we're doing in every other part of the state, we're going to topple this guy over in the tipping point state.
Now, we're in Iowa. Obviously, the caucuses, about 3 weeks from now, Ben, they go first. And this debate, the last debate before the Iowa caucuses, we've been on the ground here for about 2 days. A lot of undecided voters in Iowa still. Surprising. Ben, what are you hoping to see tonight, not just for your sake, but for all the voters' sake? Do you think we'll see clarity on the stage tonight? Do you think any of the candidates will jump out?
My biggest interest is not this kind of spats between candidates about this or that. It's people laying out their vision for different communities and different voters who are looking to see whether Democrats have a vision for them. And when I think about Wisconsin, that is, African-American voters in the north side of Milwaukee and Latino voters. That's Hmong voters. That is rural Wisconsinites, dairy farmers who are closing their barn doors for the last time all across the state. There's so many folks who need change right now. And I think the worst thing about debates can be when the moderators try to zero in on tiny differences between candidates instead of letting them lay out their visions on these really big questions facing our country. So I want to hear some big inspiring ideas that connect with lots of different types of voters and help create a contrast between the vision we see on the Democratic stage and the hate and vitriol and, frankly, distraction and personal stuff we're seeing from Trump in Milwaukee tonight.
Now, Ben, this debate's about to get started. Big news out of Wisconsin in regards to Republican efforts to voter purge over 200,000 Wisconsinites. An appellate court judge said, slow down. What's your opinion, Ben? How do we overcome the voter purge? How do we get people prepared if they have been purged?
Republicans are desperate to purge voters, to suppress votes, because they know that they can't win a fair fight. Our job, if they do purge voters, knock them off the rolls, is to reach out, organize, and register people and get them back on the rolls. We are actually, we'll be announcing tomorrow, I will sneak the news in here, we're going to be partnering with Stacey Abrams and Fair Fight to build a giant voter protection operation in Wisconsin that will run in the spring, we'll run it all the way through the fall and into the future, because we know they are coming to stop us from voting, because if we all do get together and vote, they are toast.
Ben Wickler, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair. If people want to join the party, if people want to get involved in Wisconsin with the party, Ben, how do they reach out to the Democratic Party?
Wisdems.org, WISDEMS.org. Brand new website. We just launched our newly redesigned site in time for the new year here. Sign up to volunteer. You can chip in a few bucks. You can sign up for our emails. We love sending a good newsletter. Become a member of the party, and we will give you the most amazing year of your life.
Ben Wickler, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair. The big presidential debate's coming in about 2 minutes. We got about 30 seconds to say thanks to our fine guests. They included Bill Neidhart from the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Lots of people, lots of fine guests, including Ben Wickler, the Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair. And I don't know if you've noticed, Dom, I hope you've noticed, but Ben Wickler and the Democratic Party are now messaging in conjunction with the Wisconsin Political Talk Network, a daily message playing out at 4:29 each day.
And putting some time and effort into that. It's very well done, Spot.
Yeah, so far so good. Hopefully this partnership will continue, but we are proud and happy to provide a messaging platform for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. The new guy, Ben Wickler, he gets it. He understands the value and the importance of talk radio and winning this battle, especially in Milwaukee, Dom. So thank you, Ben Wickler, for joining us yesterday. And, this ongoing partnership, nothing official they want to announce. Seems like a lot of work in the front. Any new endeavor takes some work on the front end. You want to make sure they've submitted their commitment, and then they'll start sharing these messages with their members, not just on the radio.
I look forward to hearing more about the voter protection plan that they have set up here in the state of Wisconsin. We need it.
Well, we had Tom Perez yesterday at the table. Tom Perez is going to be in Madison tomorrow morning. I'm going to go talk to Tom, and then he's coming to Milwaukee tomorrow afternoon. Maybe you should go see Tom. Well, tag team Tom. Different towns, same purpose. We need a partnership with the National Democratic National Convention, Dom. Especially the party coming next summer.
In Milwaukee.
We are just the guys that do it. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates radio show going to turn our attention to re-debating last night's big debate. Who's the winner? Well, you're all winners. You listen on the Wisconsin Political Talk Network. The happy hour commences right now.
I love that devil with the blue dress. All right. Gonna suck it to me now.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcroot.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest the Democrats use it.
Dom, the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420 celebration from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Our political party runs for 7 nights over the 420 holiday in sunny and cannabis-legal California. The Hilton La Jolla Torrey Pines is near the beach, boasting a world-class golf course, and is just a few minutes drive from downtown San Diego.
Expedia prices, local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers Madison.
The following is a public service message from Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
In 2020, Wisconsin has 4 statewide elections. Make sure you are registered to vote. Republicans are doing everything they can to make it more difficult for citizens to cast their ballot. Americans have fought and died for the right to vote. The next election is the spring primary on February 18th. Check your registration at myvote.wi.gov.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Special report, House sends impeachment articles to Senate. I'm Christopher Cruz. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi about 30 minutes ago signed the 2 articles of impeachment of President Trump. The articles were then walked across the Capitol to the Senate, accompanied by the 7 impeachment managers.
When the managers walk down the hall, they will cross a threshold in history, delivering articles of impeachment against the President of the United States for abuse of power and obstruction of the House.
The Senate was notified by the clerk of the House, Cheryl Johnson, that the articles were ready to be delivered.
H-Res 798, a resolution appointing and authorizing managers for the impeachment trial of Donald John Trump, President of the United States.
The message will be received. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said the articles would be formally accepted by the Senate at noon tomorrow and then read on the Senate floor. Special report, I'm Christopher Cruz. President Trump says an initial trade agreement with China that he signed at the White House today rights the wrongs of the past and delivers a future of economic justice and security for American workers, farmers, and families. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer today said the deal is bad for the country.
The administration, in order to get a deal at all costs before the 2020 election, has thrown the American worker and American business overboard, and they're going to be the ones left to face the consequences.
The agreement is expected to increase exports to China by American farmers and factories. Nissan is recalling almost 346,000 vehicles worldwide so it can replace dangerous airbag inflators that can explode and hurl shrapnel. A federal district judge in Maryland today blocked the Trump administration from enforcing a presidential executive order that lets state and local governments stop refugees from resettling in their jurisdictions. Another record close for the Dow today, above 29,000 for the first time. I'm Christopher Cruz.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
So, Dave, I hear you and your team at Community PC can really help a guy like me when I'm having a hard time keeping my computer up to date.
Oh, yeah, Crudy. Community PC provides great service from trusted local technicians to give our clients peace of mind when it comes to their computers.
Why, wait on hold all day?
Our team can provide you with immediate trusted remote service. We also offer timely on-site service in Dane and Rock counties. Find us at commpc.com to learn more. Community PC. We know what makes computers happy.
The Boston Red Sox said today the team is cooperating fully with Major League Baseball's investigation into allegations the Sox cheated on their way to winning the 2018 World Series. Team owner John Henry spoke to reporters today.
We've all held this wonderful baseball club to a very high standard. Today, this week, is not any different. We must ensure to the best of our ability that everyone in the organization represents the club in a manner that deserves the support and respect of our fans.
Henry has fired manager Alex Cora, who was named numerous times in the league's report on the stealing of signs by the Houston Astros. Cora was a coach with the Astros before becoming the manager of the Red Sox. The day's top story, the U.S. House has sent 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump to the Senate. The House also named the 7 members who will prosecute the case in the Senate. Mr. Trump and his supporters expect he'll be acquitted, but new evidence has been surfacing in recent days. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Wisconsin's Political Talk Network is celebrating their 3-year anniversary Tuesday, February 4th at
Regano's Roman Coin
on Brady Street in Milwaukee. Lakefront beer for all of our friends while supplies last. The Devils will kick off the party live from
Regano's Roman Coin
beginning at 5 o'clock in the Devil's Advocates Happy Hour. Come celebrate 3 years of Wisconsin's Political Talk Network at
Regano's Roman Coin
with the whole station. Tuesday, February 4th. First beer's on us.
Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Donald Trump and Mike Pence were in Milwaukee last night for a campaign rally. At the rally, Trump bragged about killing an Iranian government official and bringing back incandescent light bulbs. He also told the crowd the government should not force people to purchase energy-efficient dishwashers and faucets. Several Wisconsin Republicans joined Trump on stage, including Senator Ron Johnson and Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner and Brian Stile. And the Bucks beat the Knicks last night, 128-102. The Bucks are off tonight, then welcome the Celtics to town tomorrow night in a game that will be nationally televised. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, mostly cloudy, lows around 14 degrees in Milwaukee, 6 degrees in Madison. You're listening to Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a travel day Wednesday that we're turning into a working Wednesday, Dom. But we're turning to the hump day happy hour. You know, there's cold ones in the fridge.
Yeah, I may have to reload here. Get some energy going.
A little hair of the dog to bit you. Well, we busted our asses last couple of days in Iowa. I am feeling a little tired from the travel and the tremendous exertions we make when we go on the road, Dom. You know, it's hard to be this cool for that long.
On the road again.
On the road again. Presidential debates in Des Moines, Iowa. Last debate before the Iowa caucuses. Dom, next time we're in Iowa, it'll be caucus night, Monday, February 3rd.
They'll be voting.
And Donald Trump, as mentioned, Donald Trump came to Wisconsin in our absence. Must have known we were gone, Dom. If we'd have been here, A, we would have ridiculed him unmercifully. And B,
as opposed to what, not being here and ridiculing him unmercifully
okay,
anyway?
We would have mocked him either way. We have mocked him somewhat today.
It's only because it's so deserved. I mean, you kidding me? The guy actually stands up and talks about water pressure.
Well, he also, last night in Milwaukee, he also talked about one of the big issues amongst the Democratic debate field.
Oh, please edify me, Mr. President.
Here's what he said. I don't believe that he being Bernie Sanders, said this because, you know, I don't know him.
I don't particularly like him. He's a nasty guy. But it's not his deal. He said that she said that Bernie stated that a woman can't win for president. He continued, being Trump. A woman can win for president. Fortunately, he said, then before giggling to the crowd's cheers in an apparent reference to his victory over Hillary in 2016. So Trump's being Bernie supportive?
Right?
You know, he's just sticking his nose in there just to mess with the elective cycle and the Democratic debaters. Stephen Colbert, he did a live show yesterday. And when there is a presidential debate, he does his late night show live. But with Trump in Milwaukee, he took the opportunity to take a few pot shots himself at the president, hashtag not my president. Let's play for the people, courtesy of CBS, Stephen Colbert. Let's play a little of this sound with your assistance, Fancy Brian. Dom, why don't you call it from the top?
Let's do cut 10, please, Brian.
And your great Green Bay Packers are playing San Francisco this weekend. Good luck. So do we have any Green Bay Packer fans here tonight?
You can't ask a crowd in Milwaukee if they're Green Bay Packer fans. That is the cheapest ploy for applause. I know for a fact my audience would never fall for it because they're the smartest, most beautiful people in the world. Am I right? Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I thought our audience was the smartest, most beautiful people in the world. Am I right?
Am I right? Yes, you are right. They can
maybe
join
it's
us
just the host
as well. Join us, please. 844-967-2789. Let's hear more Colbert. Cut 11, please, Brian.
Trump bragged about killing Soleimani and had high, if strange, praise for our military.
These guys were better than Tom Cruise at his best.
Better at flying jets than Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Better at making cocktails than Tom Cruise in Cocktail. Better at raining men than Tom Cruise in Rain Man. I'm better at interviewing vampires than...
Come on. I mean, you know why Trump is going there, because Tom Cruise is better at paying hookers and risky business, and that's what Trump relates to.
Take me to bed or lose me forever.
Show me the way home, baby. You don't remember Risky Business, man?
Sure, Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah, you do remember.
It was sort of a coming-of-age movie for me, if I recall. And Tom Cruise.
All right, crew will be back in 3 minutes. In the meantime, let's play some more Colbert, if you would,
Take
please,
those
Brian.
old records off the shelf if you got to.
Cut 12, please, Brian.
Then Trump dug into specifics, like when is now?
And is there ever a better place to be than a Trump rally on some night during some week?
He really has no idea what day it is. I'll never forget the wonderful night and or day we're having here in unnamed screaming place, USA. Then go, unnamed team.
It's the Packers, let's be clear.
Dominic, I got to admit, I'm also a little lost to place and date.
It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Yeah, but we have to, I mean, I get it, being on the road. You know, I can understand sometimes that.
It was like an extended weekend during which we had to work really hard.
It's like all kind of blurs together sometimes.
A little more Trump, or is that the end of the Colbert?
That is the end
Trump?
of the Colbert. But we have some sound from the debate last night.
Well, before we get there, we got a caller holding.
all right.
And you can be like Kurt from Madison by dialing 844-967-2789. I got the pod. I got the conch. I control the conversation flow, and I'm taking Kurt. Kurt, what do you got for us?
Hey, Kurt.
I have come to realize that it's best to call into the show early, because as the show moves along, you get people like Gary. And I think Gary is really missing his calling at how to be a complete moron and still make a lot of money as a businessman. Go, Gary.
If he was making a lot of money, I wish he wasn't so freaking cheap. He'll buy you fish, but beer, oh no, Gary won't buy the beer.
Kurt, maybe Gary just needs to start a YouTube channel with that title.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. I like that. Go, Gary. I have a problem when you talk about the polls, and maybe you can clarify it for me. When they spit out percentages, I always want to ask, in reference to what are the areas that they're calling? How many people within that area are they calling? What's the total number of people they spoke to? Yeah. Because 51% of 100,000 versus 51% of 10,000 kind of blows it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, fair question. And the Marquette polling and most other polls do put that information out there, Kurt, in the data, in the report. But I mentioned to Crudy, like when we talked specifically about the Democratic primary support, that was a subset. That was like 350 people with a margin of error of like 6-point-something%. It was a small sample. So, yeah, certainly those things do matter, Kurt, and that's why ultimately you have to look at the actual data itself.
And, Kurt, Charles Franklin has a propensity to oversample Republicans.
As Crudy will tell you every time.
Okay, well, I'm going to check out his website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
and we should do that with all the polls, too. I mean, again, Real Clear Politics polling has a rundown of the current polls, and you can click through and you can find the data. And any reputable polling organization will put that information out there as well, Kurt.
Thank you for the call, sir. Be like Kurt if you choose. Join us, 844-967-2789. But, Dom, I would like to debate the debate. Winners and losers, well, anyone that listened to that spectacular 5-hour pregame show and then stuck around for a 2-hour debate, they're strong of constitution, and B, they're damn fine human beings as far as I'm concerned. Dom, I started reading articles as soon as I woke up this morning, and wiped the sleep from my eyes. And about every damn article had a different winner and loser or combination thereof. One I noted, I'm going to see if I can find this article, of the winners and the losers. I found this one at the Washington Post, Aaron Blake. Before I talk about the traditional winners and losers, I want to talk about the Bloomberg campaign. Now, Bloomberg was not a part of the debate, right?
He was not on stage.
Has not accepted other donor money and doesn't meet the minimum criterion, despite the fact that he is now polling sufficiently to qualify for the stage. So here's what his campaign did. And here, by Aaron Blake, he, or at least his campaign, the Bloomberg campaign, they are being described amongst the losers. They live tweeted the Dem debate last night.
All right, what's so bad about that?
I'm going to read from Aaron Blake. One candidate not on the stage Tuesday night was former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg. So to draw attention, his campaign instead fired off a bunch of deliberately bogus #debate facts. And here's a sampling, Dom. During the 1996 primaries, Mike Tyson bit off part of Pat Buchanan's ears.
What?
#debate facts. I think that was Evander Holyfield, actually. Here's a few more. See if you get the gist. Mike Bloomberg, has eaten Clams Casino for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for the past 30 years. #Bloomberg facts. #Dem debate. A few more. I think they're satirical, Dom. For participating in the 1984 debates, Walter Mondale and Ronald Reagan each received a $25 Cracker Barrel gift certificate. Here's at least one more. To participate in tonight's debate, candidates had to meet a polling and donor threshold or have solved at least one cold case murder in the last 6 months. #debate facts. #Dem debate. As Aaron Blake writes, there's a good way to try and grab a chunk of spotlight. But as the candidates on stage were discussing substantive issues, this just felt frivolous and weird.
I appreciate the effort and a sense of humor, perhaps timing a bit. Maybe you should have done it today.
After the fact.
After the fact.
Well, then you don't grab any attention, Dom. I hope someone's listening. I hope we're grabbing attention. I hope they dial us up. There's time for you to express your opinions. Winners and losers of the Big Dem debate. Well, you're all winners. You're listening to the Devil's Advocates. And you're only losers if you don't dial 844-967-2789 and participate right now.
To me, this is a very, very sexy subject.
How did Scott Walker win 3 governor's races in Wisconsin? How did Donald Trump win Wisconsin, carry the presidency despite losing the primary to Ted Cruz? Right-wing talk radio. 81 stations spewing 235 hours a day of variety hate across the Badger State. You cannot win elections in Wisconsin by ceding the airwaves to Republicans, especially in Milwaukee and the Wall counties. The answer, we built a Wisconsin political talk network, 2 Metro FM stations in Milwaukee and Madison, rural AM stations in Waukesha and Columbus, covering 2.5 million Wisconsinites with our message. I used my own savings, my credit, pledged my home, sold my business. I'm all in. Are you? Can you stand with us now? I have built a messaging tool. We have assembled a great team, but changing outcomes requires rapid promotion and costs money. Can you help me? Can you buy ads, promote your campaign, or give a direct donation?
If you can help us, go to GoFundMe.com and search Resistance Radio Wisconsin.
Monday, February 3rd, the Devil's Advocates will be on the ground in Iowa, covering the first in the nation Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Live from Loras College in Dubuque, the Devil's Advocates return to the caucus site won by Bernie Sanders in 2016. Now his challengers include Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Andrew Yang. Special coverage begins at 7 on Talk 92.7 FM in Madison, Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee, Iowa Caucuses, Devil's Advocates.
Milwaukee is a great city with a great history and great architecture. You can take in Milwaukee's history and architecture while you partake in the delicious Wisconsin craft beer at Regano's Roman Coin on historic Brady Street. The Roman Coin was originally a Pabst Tight House built by Frederick Pabst in 1890 to sell Pabst beer. It was even designed by the same architect who designed the Pabst Theater. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's historic, pet-friendly, cash-only, order-in classic corner tavern.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. What are your thoughts on the big debate last night? Who won? Who lost? Do you care? Thankfully, it's over. Caucus is coming in 19 days. You can dial in right now at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the biggest issue leading up to the debate was this new rift between the progressive lane, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Obviously, Sanders, and we reported this during the course of our couple of days in Iowa, the Sanders campaign reportedly had instructed volunteers to effectively say Elizabeth Warren is not expanding the Democratic base. She only appeals to women and elitist. And I haven't even had a cold one yet.
And and the educated, I believe.
The educated. Yes. And Bernie Sanders, of course, came out publicly, said that's ludicrous. He denied from the stage last night that he ever made any such statement. And Abby Phillips from CNN, the moderator, before he could get the words out of his mouth, she dismissed them and basically called him a liar in the choice of the way she asked the question of Elizabeth Warren.
Now you're talking about
Abby Phillips, the moderator, when she
about whether or not a woman could win the presidency,
yes,
or
and
talking
Sanders
about the criticism
said, I
of
never said that, and she basically said Elizabeth Warren. When Bernie Sanders said that, I mean, the crowd reacted. Bernie even laughed.
Yeah.
So anyways, we've got some of the sound of this interchange. This was what I think lots of us thought was coming last night. Otherwise, a somewhat tepid debate, but this was one of the big highlights of the evening. Bernie and Warren, and they went back and forth. And Dom, you've got the sound. Call it for us.
If you would, please, Fancy Brian. Let's start with cut number 40. Can a woman win? Here's Bernie Sanders.
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me, knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's some video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States.
I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Well, let's hear the response. Elizabeth Warren, cut number 41, if you would, please, Brian.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed. Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie. But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win is by looking at people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald Trump? Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women, Amy and me.
I really enjoyed that particular part. Probably my favorite part of the entire debate.
Dominic, under Aaron Blake's column at the Washington Post, winners, Warren's sly attack on Sanders. Let me read this. The big question going into the debate was just how Senator Elizabeth Warren would handle the conspicuously timed story that Senator Bernie Sanders told her a woman couldn't be elected president, and she handled it obliquely. Warren de-escalated a little and said she wasn't there to fight with Bernie, despite standing by the claim on Monday, but she proceeded to offer an alternative and thinly veiled case against Sanders as the Democratic nominee. We just played it for you, but let me point out the important part according to Aaron Blake. She said there was a real danger in Democrats, and here's the quote, Dom, picking a candidate who can't pull our party together or someone who takes for granted big parts of the Democratic constituency. We need a candidate who will excite all parts of the Democratic Party, bring everyone in. She said she was the only candidate on the stage to beat an incumbent Republican in the past 30 years. In case it wasn't clear, all of that pointed at Sanders, who was the most unapologetically liberal candidate in the race. He was also the last candidate on the stage to defeat an incumbent Republican 30 years ago. Sanders soon noted this fact, and Warren argued that her math was correct. Her semantics were debatable. It was a good way to continue drawing contrast while perhaps avoiding inflaming the most sensitive tensions. We'll see how she follows it up, though. This could be a minefield as well. And then Aaron Blake also notes, winner, Sanders' response. To the extent that people care about whether Sanders actually said what Warren said he said, he also had a strong response. He flatly denied the claim. He noted that he said decades ago that a woman could win. He said that back and forth is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. He said, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren when it came to the 2016 presidential campaign, in which Warren ultimately opted not to run. So Bernie basically said, if you run in 16, Elizabeth Warren, I'm not going to run. She chose not to. Bernie obviously did run. And now, so anyways, it's become a point of contention. Let me finish the paragraph and then more sound. This is something of a zero-sum game, given that Sanders and Warren are largely fighting over the same voters, but neither fumbled a tough topic. Now, Amy Klobuchar, he calls her a winner last night. We saw her late in the evening arriving back at the Marriott Hotel, and she was greeted by some well-wishers, Tom. But there was one...
I got to tell you, when Senator Klobuchar walked through, surrounded by staff and lots of people that were there, I mean, she looked tired. And I reflect, you and I have been on the road, and we, did a long show of 5 hours, but, we're not on the stage. We don't have, the preparation and the lights and the pressure that was obviously felt. She did a good job, I think, last night, but I think when she rolled into that hotel room, she was ready to go to bed.
Well, I was eventually. Had to have a little late night snack. Something to get me over your snoring through the evening.
Who, me?
I hope Klobuchar doesn't snore, not like Selvia does. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, the Hump Day Happy Hour. It continues. Your calls welcome at 844-967-2789.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out the Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
From kitchens to bathrooms, granite countertops elevate your home from ordinary to extraordinary. Habo Granite & Stone is your local option for luxury countertops at affordable prices. They offer quality service that can be trusted and provide quick installation with no huge lead times. If you have been thinking about upgrading your home with granite countertops, now is the time to contact our team at Habo Granite & Stone. Find us at HAYBO,
Sell your Madison area home for top dollar with ease. Hi, I'm Amy Hopfinger with Homestead Realty, and I have a program that saves you time and money. Sell your home without the hassle. No signs, no open houses, no keeping your home showing ready, no leaving for showings. Quick, easy, convenient. Visit me at buyerformyhouse.com. That's buyerformyhouse.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
I just don't understand, Jimmy. Double dipping is perfect. We've done nothing wrong. It's just a big fat hoax made up by that crispy Crudy guy and his sidekick Dom Perignon.
Don't worry, Rocker. We just need a simple distraction. Let's go camping.
Unplug from the politics on Saturday and Sunday from 6 to 9. Local music with Rob Roberts sitting in for Jimmy K and Rocker while they're out camping.
They can't impeach us while we're camping, can they, Jimmy?
Pass the dip, Rocker.
It's all on Max Inc. Radio. Radio for the people.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Monday, February 3rd, the Devil's Advocates will be on the ground in Iowa, covering the first in the nation Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Live from Loras College in Dubuque, the Devil's Advocates return to the caucus site won by Bernie Sanders in 2016. Now his challengers include Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Andrew Yang. Special coverage begins at 7 on Talk 92.7 FM in Madison, Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee. Iowa Caucus's Devil's Advocates.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. PolitiFact Wisconsin checked a claim by Republican State Senator Tom Tiffany that wolves are partly to blame for the dairy crisis in the state. Tiffany is a candidate for Congress in the state's 7th Congressional District. At a debate last month, Tiffany said keeping the wolves on the endangered species list is a socialist thing. Wisconsin is home to more than 1.25 million cows, and in 2018 there were fewer than 100 possible wolf attacks reported. In that year, 30 cows were killed, 43 were reported missing, and 2 were treated by a veterinarian. PolitiFact rated the statement by Tiffany as pants on fire. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows around 14 degrees in Milwaukee, 6 degrees in Madison. You're listening to Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day Happy Hour. It continues. We are revisiting the Dem presidential debate. We were in Des Moines, Iowa last night, a long couple of days in Iowa, Dom. And Aaron Blake, we're using this as a point of reference to talk about the winners and the losers. Of course, you can't have the winners without the losers, Tom.
Can't we all win?
From the... Well, all the people listening right now, I feel like they're the winners.
Well, they at least get a participation trophy.
Well, except for Gary. Because someone's got to be the loser, Gary. I feel bad. It's you, but someone's got to have that role.
If it didn't have to be that way, Gary, we would certainly not have it that way, but that's just how it is.
Well, we're still amongst the column of the winners from last night's debate, according to Aaron Blake at the Washington Post. Amy Klobuchar on health care. Medicare for All has come up so much in these debates that bringing it up often elicits groans from people who covered these things. Little of it seems new anymore, but Klobuchar carved out her niche, Tuesday night. This debate isn't real, she said. I was in Vegas the other day, and someone said, don't put your chips on the number on the wheel that isn't even on the wheel. That's the problem. Over 2/3 of the Democrats in the U.S. Senate are not on the bill that Sanders and Senator Warren are on. I didn't even know what the hell she was talking about at that point, Dom. Like, don't bet on something that's not even on the wheel. It was a strange analogy. She left me wanting for clarity.
Well, she was letting us know that she was campaigning in Las Vegas. And
a little tip of the cap to
don't take risky
Nevada
bets,
caucus goers. Let me read on. Klobuchar then went a step further, pointing to concrete things she's done and would do, including on drug importation and a bipartisan bill on lowering drug prices. And she pointed to the 137 things she said she can do in the first 100 days as president without Congress. Medicare for All has fallen out of favor in recent weeks and months, and to the extent that Democratic voters are out of love with it, she made a strong play for the substantial alternative mantle over which she, Pete Buttigieg, and Joe Biden have been fighting. You know, the Medicare for some that can afford it, whatever their plan is.
The nonprofit public option.
Medicare for, well, anyways. Here's one other point where Klobuchar really lost me. And I'm not here to bash Klobuchar per se. I don't think she's going to catch fire in Iowa. That's not my impression. But when they started quizzing the Democrats on foreign policy, Amy Klobuchar went through a whole series of different countries where our troops currently reside. You going to withdraw our troops from Iraq? No, we got to leave troops in Iraq. You going to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan? No, we got to leave our troops in Afghanistan. She went through and basically is repeating the very same foreign policy choices of the Trump administration, or at least that seemed to be the impression that I got. Elizabeth Warren, much clearer, it would be her intent to withdraw U.S. troops from the Middle East. I know Bernie Sanders shares that sentiment, but Klobuchar listed as amongst the winners last night. That was not a winning
I think
answer as far as I was concerned.
Well, let's get to the losers, because I think the losers in some regard were any of the audience or listeners that were concerned about what the policy will be regarding foreign policy. I mean, how do you have a conversation about where you're going to leave troops if you don't have a discussion about what the policy is? I mean, obviously your policy includes troops in some way, shape, or form, but why? And for how long? And for what purpose? And how do you define success? You know, how do we wind down? Who are our partners? These things were not addressed by any of the debaters last night.
According to Aaron Blake, amongst the list of losers, clarity on Democrats' foreign policy.
Amen, brother.
With tensions with Iran and controversy over President Trump's decision to kill Qasem Soleimani, big in the news, Democrats had a chance to define their party on the issue. And the debate began on that subject with the candidates talking at some length. What we got instead was a lot of general talk about taking out combat troops, but leaving in other troops that would be tasked with other missions. Joe Biden was big into leaving Green Berets everywhere, right, Tom?
Mm-hmm.
They criticized Trump as not having authority to attack Iran. It seemed like a moment in which the Democratic Party could define itself on this issue, but there wasn't much of that on Tuesday night. Instead, it was a lot of Goldilocks-ing of troop numbers, each one assuring us that he or she would keep just the right number in the Middle East.
That's terrible.
Also, losers. Pete Buttigieg, according to Aaron Blake. Now, we were much less than impressed with Pete Buttigieg on Monday night at an Ames, Iowa rally at Iowa State University. A, the crowd was geriatric. B, there's about 1,000 people and not overly passionate. Not to our perception, not to my perception.
No, they were dialed in. They clapped when they were supposed to clap, albeit maybe they missed one or two of the lines that Buttigieg laid out there for them. But no, overall, not a crazy enthusiastic crowd like some of the other ones we've seen with some of the other candidates.
Last time Buttigieg had a enthusiastic crowd was in Des Moines. What was the Jefferson Lincoln dinner or whatever the case may be? He showed up with like 2,500 supporters. They were rabid that night, and I don't know where they went to, but they were quite polite.
They were not in Ames. That's
it was
for
like
sure.
Golf clap at Ames. Losers, according to Aaron Blake, Pete Buttigieg. For arguably the first time on one of these debate stages, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, was something of a bystander who didn't really add much. He hit many of the same notes he has in previous debates, including by criticizing Medicare for All as being unrealistic and knocking a Washington mentality. You got a Washington mentality, Dom. He at one point emphasized the national debt and deficit. One wonders whether these are huge priorities for Democratic voters right now. Iowa is so important for Buttigieg because it's such a good constituency for him. He wasn't bad Tuesday, but it may not help him address some of his arrested momentum. Now, do we have any Buttigieg sound?
We do have some. Let's kind of wind back here a little bit. Let's get some of the Klobuchar sound out there as well. As referenced earlier with the sound, we played Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, their interchange regarding whether or not a female could be president. Amy Klobuchar on a woman being president. Brian, 42, if you would, please.
People have said it. That's why I've addressed it from this stage. I point out that you don't have to be the tallest person in the room. James Madison was 5'4". You don't have to be the skinniest person in the room. You don't have to be the loudest person. You have to be competent.
The skinniest and the loudest. Do you think she meant Trump in both cases?
And it's a nice thought that you should be competent, but you don't have to be competent. Look at the current president. That's
Clearly
obvious.
You don't have to be skinny.
Right. And you don't have to be tall. I mean, James Madison, 5'4". I mean, I can appreciate.
You're eligible for the presidency.
I can appreciate the shorter folks. They have a lot of constitution.
Yeah, and Napoleonic complexes often. I know from personal experience and friendships.
Let's go also in this regard. Biden, Uncle Joe stepping up, talking about women uniting the party. The next cut, please, Brian, 43.
Women can win, and I've went in and campaigned for 27 of them this last in 2018. The best group I've ever campaigned for in terms of competence. But the real issue is who can bring the whole party together, represents all elements of the party.
That is a great question.
Real quick, Aaron Blake of Joe Biden's performance said, in the middle. I guess that's not a win or a loss. Joe Biden looks like a decent bet to win in Iowa. I wouldn't take that money, despite some not so strong debate performances. So maybe he didn't need a big one on Tuesday, but he was just okay. He connected on a personal level by talking about his family history and avoided major stumbles. He also pointed out that things other candidates are talking about on Iraq and Iran, like pulling out troops and seeking authorization for the use of military force, he advocated for in the Obama administration. But he also occasionally seemed to struggle for words and for some reason, again, cut his answer short, citing time constraints. I'm out of time.
And I got to stop.
Now, Bernie did go on the attack of Joe Biden. Bernie went after Biden on his Iraq war vote. Do we have that sound? Because that, to me, is a strong contrast, certainly on foreign policy, that Sanders can draw with Joe Biden. And Bernie didn't vote for the war in Iraq, and I took note of the fact that Biden describes it now as a mistake, and Bernie, in fact, describes his own Afghanistan war vote, meaning Bernie's own vote, yes, on Afghanistan. Bernie now describes that as a mistake, although he points out he was joined by 99 other senators in a unanimous vote.
A unanimous mistake?
apparently.
And if I just
at least he self-examines. I mean, how many senators would say I voted with
that,
the
but if it's
entirety
such a
of the
mistake,
Senate?
if we were lied into war, and if it's such a fraud, why do they get up there? I mean, every candidate up there presumably would think that we were lied into the Iraqi war, right? And the result of that war are troops in the region. And then every one of them, not every one of them, but many of them, as they sit there and say what their thoughts are on foreign policy, apparently foreign policy entirely is included with regards to whether or not troops are in a country, let alone any diplomatic efforts being made. But if the result of the fraud and the mistake are troops in the region, why isn't the recommendation to pull them out and leave? I just don't understand. And if you have a national security reason, a national interest to state in the region, then please articulate it for us. Lay it out there. You shouldn't start with, well, I'm going to have 83 troops here, and we're going to have a couple of troops over there, and we'll have some Green Berets there. Well, that war and the armed forces are part of a foreign policy. They're certainly not the entirety of a foreign policy. And if all we're doing is talking about the troops, no wonder why we're having some difficulty with our foreign policy in this country.
Well, at least it was something less than an afterthought. At least they talked about the Democrats and they pushed the Democrats on foreign policy. And obviously foreign policy front and center right now with Soleimani and Ukraine and everything else. Many of Trump's biggest issues currently are in regards to his choices on foreign policy.
Well, yeah, because that's the area in which he can manipulate for his own personal gain the easiest. I mean, he's in charge of the State Department. The ambassadors all work at his request. He can fire them as he sees fit, as he did with the Ukrainian ambassador. Apparently another quid pro quo. And, of course, he's the commander-in-chief as well.
Let's get to the phones. 844-967-2789. Our pal, Pizza Box Mike. I know you're a Bernie guy, Mike. Did he still have your heart and affection after the debate last night?
Well, of course. I mean, I'm not going to get, polls, debates that are framed for, trying to make Joe Biden look good by corporate Nazi news. Am I surprised? I mean, they were here for the 2012 recall. I mean, seriously, Wolf Blitzer and all this panel. I mean, when you're watching them ask these questions, do they even look like they're trying to be, honest or real at any point? And remember, they're getting paid seven figures, every one of them, by the corporations that Bernie's fighting against.
They were looking like they were very serious and being very journalistic-y, Mike.
Man, let's just drop it. People need to be real, and that's what I have always liked about Bernie. But first of all, let's go back to Klobuchar. I mean, I want to call her Get a Klobuchar. By 2045, 2050, we're going to get this fossil fuel stuff, neutral. And she's absolutely the wrong person. She's always talking about herself. It's I. The biggest losers were the panel for framing questions, again, to make Joe Biden not look bad. We aren't talking about the things that America's concerned about. I just hope that people can see through a lot of this. And as far as Bernie being honest, I mean, 50 years of it. Look at the people that are supporting him. The Squad, Nina Turner. Do you think these are women that are easily manipulated by some guy that doesn't believe women have, just as much a chance to lead in this country as anybody else? And I'll end it this way. When you ask Bernie about his policy regarding health care, he didn't hem and haw. He just told it the way it is. When you asked Elizabeth Warren, she had to back up, stutter, stammer. Her daughter is in the industry as well. She's a lobbyist in the healthcare industry. So line everything up, people. Go as far to the left as you can, because this is where it's at, man. It's down right now. We can't wait. It's got to happen now.
Now! We got to go to break. Now! Thank you for the call, Pizza Box Mike. More Devils on the other side. Your phone calls welcome. 844-967-2789.
Congratulations for staying awake all day.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on Talk 101.7 FM. Weekdays, you can hear Democracy Now! From 7 to 8 a.m. Then it's the Earl Ingram Show from 8 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Online at talk1017fm.com. Wisconsin's political talk, because politics matters.
The following is a public service message from Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
In 2020, Wisconsin has 4 statewide elections. Make sure you are registered to vote. Republicans are doing everything they can to make it more difficult for citizens to cast their ballot. Americans have fought and died for the right to vote. The next election is the spring primary on February 18th. Check your registration at myvote.wi.gov.
This new year, make the resolution to be healthier, happier, and more productive. At Madison Liquidators, we have a full line of options that will help you get up and standing at your desk. From simple desktop converters to full-size, height-adjustable desks that raise and lower at the push of a button, we have options to meet any budget. Stop by our showroom in Middleton today to try before you buy or learn more by visiting MadisonLiquidators.com. That's MadisonLiquidators.com.
Wisconsin's Political Talk Network is celebrating their 3-year anniversary Tuesday, February 4th at
Regano's Roman Coin
on Brady Street in Milwaukee. Lakefront beer for all of our friends while supplies last. The Devils will kick off the party live from
Regano's Roman Coin
beginning at 5 o'clock in the Devil's Advocates Happy Hour. Come celebrate 3 years of Wisconsin's Political Talk Network
at Regano's Roman Coin
with the whole station. Tuesday, February 4th. First beer's on us.
Ass, grass, or cash, nobody rides for free. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, please do it right now. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we're home in the Badger State. And yesterday we were in Des Moines, Iowa, the site of the final Democratic presidential debate before the Iowa caucuses. We had a fine guest at the table, Tom Perez, the DNC chairman, and a little announcement for our audience, Tom. Tom Perez, DNC chairman, is going to be in Milwaukee tomorrow, and you can attend on Thursday, January 16th at 1:30 p.m. DNC chair Tom Perez, Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes, Wisconsin State Senator LaTanya Johnson, Milwaukee Democratic Chair Chris Walton, our friend, healthcare organizer Karen Kirsch, and other Wisconsinites will gather for a roundtable discussion focusing on Democratic efforts to make healthcare more affordable for working families, most recently through the passage of H.R. 3, which allows the government to negotiate lower drug prices. While Trump's broken promises are spiking costs and jeopardizing coverage protections for individuals with pre-existing conditions. So once again, Tom Perez in Milwaukee tomorrow. He's going to be in Madison in the morning. I think I'm going to go see Tom tomorrow with Mandela Barnes, LaTanya Johnson, Chris Walton, Karen Kirsch, and others. Coffee Makes You Black at 2803 North Teutonia Avenue in Milwaukee. Again, that event starts at 1:30. I suspect they'd be willing to accept spectators, Tom. I know there's room in the room. So, go join him at Coffee Makes You Black tomorrow.
All right. Look forward to seeing Tom tomorrow. Regarding healthcare, let's get to some of that sound from yesterday. Let's start with Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, cut number 71, Brian, at the Iowa debate talking about, Medicare funding.
On the Medicare for All, one of the provisions we have to pay for it is a 4% tax on income, exempting the first $29,000. So the average family in America that today makes $60,000 would pay $1,200 a year, compared to that family paying $12,000 a year.
Sounds like a funding formula, maybe a little big picture, but let's keep going. Then we get to the phones at 844-967-2789. Brian, let's jump down to 77. Once again, Senator Sanders, the human right.
Healthcare is a human right. Every other major country on earth is guaranteeing healthcare for all. The time is long overdue for us to do the same.
I concur. Senator Sanders, cut number 78.
Now, our plan wouldn't bankrupt the country, and in fact, it would much improve the well-being of working-class families and the middle class. Let us be clear what Medicare for All does. It ends all premiums. It ends all copayments. It ends the absurdity of deductibles. It ends out-of-pocket expenses. It takes on the pharmaceutical industry, which in some cases charges us 10 times more for the same prescription drugs sold abroad as sold here.
And cut number 79, the healthcare savings.
What we will do through a Medicare for All single payer program is substantially lower the cost of health care for employers and workers, because we end the $100 billion a year that the healthcare industry makes and the $500 billion a year we spend in the administrative nightmare of dealing with thousands of separate insurance plans.
We have some more sound of Buttigieg, Biden, and Warren regarding healthcare funding. But let's get to the phones. Once again, that's 844-967-2789. Dick from Madison, you're up. Happy days, Dick. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dick.
Well, take from last night, when are they all going to figure out who the enemy is? You take shots at each other, even subtle ones, is not good, in my opinion. And Amy Klobuchar.
But you got to spar a little bit, Dick. I mean, come on. They're going to go up.
Okay,
maybe if Trump's not in jail,
But
they're going to have to go into this fight in fighting shape, right?
Yeah.
And Trump's going to lie through his teeth, Dick. I mean, whatever the truth is.
All of the above. And that's why take all your shots at him even now. But Klobuchar, she kind of summed it up for me early in her campaign with the trivial pursuit of, my ex-boyfriend's even donated to me. I don't care about that, Amy. Guess what? I could care less. What are you going to do to really go against this guy?
Well, she did collect $17,000 from ex-boyfriends. That is an impressive.
Well, that's really nice.
Total, Dick.
Come on.
I mean, if Dom called all his ex-girlfriends, we might get like $4 and some green stamps.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, Dick. Thanks for the call, man. I mean, let's play a little bit more some of the sound. I know we're getting short on time here, but we played some Bernie. Let's hear what Warren had to say regarding healthcare funding. Cut number 44 from the debate last night, if you would, Brian.
My approach to this is we've got to get as much help to as many people as quickly as possible. I have worked out a plan where we can do that without raising taxes on middle-class families by one thin dime.
Joe Biden also had some thoughts in this regard. Cut number 47 from last night.
I think we need to be candid with voters. I think we have to tell them what we're going to do and what it's going to cost. And a 4% tax on income over $24,000 doesn't even come close to paying for between 30 and some estimates as high as $40 trillion over 10 years. That's doubling the entire federal budget.
And let's go to Buttigieg, also on the healthcare funding, number 62 from the Democratic debate last night.
When it comes to healthcare, you can do it in two moves. Of course, my plan costs $1.5 trillion over a decade. No small sum, but not the 20, 30, 40 that we're hearing about from the others. All I got to do is two things. Both of them are common sense. Allow Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices and roll back the Trump corporate tax cuts that went to corporations and the wealthy that didn't even need it.
You know, Elizabeth Warren pointed out Pete Buttigieg's solution is cheaper because it's entirely insufficient.
Well, it's cheaper because
the problem
it does not address the entirety of what she and many others consider to be the big problem.
Dave Weigel, our friend from the Washington Post, tweeted out last night, I can imagine Warren helping herself this week with some of the voters who drifted to Buttigieg and Klobuchar. But the unity candidate thing isn't really tenable. Sanders diehards who might have been reluctant about her before now see her as a backstabber. Thank you to our fine guest, Earl Ingram Jr., Charles Franklin from the Marquette University Law School polling. Ben Wickler, we replayed last night's big interview. Thank you all for listening. Going on the road with us to Iowa and back again.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was fun. Hope you enjoyed it.
Now stick around for our good friend Brandy Grayson, Unheard Of. Her show's next. You're going to want to listen. Devil's Advocates, we'll do it again tomorrow, about 3 o'clock.
Take me to bed or lose me forever.
An impeachment that will last forever.
Dom, the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420-2020 celebration from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Our political party runs for 7 nights over the 420 holiday in sunny and cannabis-legal California. The Hilton La Jolla Torrey Pines is near the beach, boasting a world-class golf course, and is just a few minutes' drive from downtown San Diego.
Expedia prices, local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers Madison.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Special report, House sends impeachment articles to Senate. I'm Christopher Cruz. The U.S. House late this afternoon delivered the 2 articles of impeachment of President Trump to the Senate. For procedural reasons, the articles won't be formally accepted until tomorrow. Capitol Hill correspondent Phil Mattingly.
Today and tomorrow, largely ceremonial, largely procedural. The real meat and bones of this trial will begin on Tuesday. That is when the Senate is expected to debate and vote on the initial resolution laying out the ground rules for the trial.
Capitol Hill correspondent Manu Raju says the president will soon have the chance to defend himself.
The president will be officially summoned to present his case to the Senate. That's when the president's defense counsel will eventually have to come make the case. But that will be another historic moment when the Senate officially summons the president team to essentially make the case on his behalf.
New revelations about President Trump's interactions with Ukrainian leaders have intensified pressure on the Senate to allow additional witnesses to testify. I'm Christopher Cruz. The United States and China today signed Phase 1 of a trade deal that both sides hope is the beginning of the end of the trade war between the world's 2 biggest economies. The deal was signed at the White House today by President Trump and Chinese Vice Premier Liu Hua. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was not impressed.
It's very hard if you have a president who decides to sign these deals by the election calendar or decides to sign these deals by photo ops, not by really helping American workers. It's very hard when you have a president who sides with corporate America over workers almost every time to get something done. The real answer to a good deal with China is a new president.
2 federal agencies said today the decade that just ended was by far the hottest ever measured on Earth. Rocky Johnson, the professional wrestler who was the father of another pro wrestler and now movie star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, died today. He was 75. The Dow closed up 90 points today, closing above 29,000 for the first time. I'm Christopher Cruz. Do you know that
when it comes to politics, Wisconsin's Political Talk Network takes you there, live, to the debate stage, to the convention floor, to the rallies, to the marches, to the halls of Congress. Hear history as it happens, live on the radio. Mandatory listening. Wisconsin's Political Talk Network, because politics matters.
I just don't understand, Jimmy. Double dipping is perfect. We've done nothing wrong. It's just a big fat hoax made up by that crispy Crudy guy and his sidekick Dom Perignon.
Don't worry, Rocker. We just need a simple distraction. Let's go camping.
Unplugged from the politics on Saturday and Sunday from 6 to 9. Local music with Rob Roberts sitting in for Jimmy K and Rocker while they're out camping.
They can't impeach us while we're camping, can they, Jimmy?
Pass the dip, Rocker.
It's all on Max Inc. Radio. Radio for the people.
Police in Osceola County, Florida say 44-year-old Anthony Todd has admitted to killing his family. An emotional Sheriff Russ Gibson says Todd is in custody.
3 children and a mother has lost their lives at the hands of a husband and supposed father and their dog. This is despicable and cannot be tolerated anywhere in the United States of America, let alone Osceola County, Florida.
Gibson told reporters Todd works in Connecticut and returns to his Osceola County home on weekends.
We grieve along with the victim's family and friends, along with the community, for this tragic loss of innocent lives. Myself, I cannot understand